for the night. And I'm going to start here because they still all stuck on Melania, which I understand why, but we're going to dive in a little deeper. Is that okay if we dive in a little deeper and go back kind of to the source of the games that they was playing? I guess she thought that her husband's reign would never fall. Come on in, y'all. Ooh, I ain't do none of what I was supposed to do. God, come on in, come on in. Let me make sure I got a good connection. We're going to start with Bibi Netanyahu. Netanyahu, the devil, or one of his legions. There are many. Ain't that what them devils be saying? We are legions, and we are many. Yeah, let's see what one of the devil legions, cause he don't want nothing to do with no peace. He said, ain't no peace be still, ain't no peace or still, ain't none of that. Ain't no peace, ain't nothing by Jordan River, ain't nothing. But let me have all this land, let me rule. What he gonna do with it? Do he think he, just because they sacrifice, well, that's a part of what they say. The more they sacrifice, the more blood sacrifice they drink, the longer they live, I guess. I thought it was to make them look young. Ooh, did y'all see Ellen DeGeneres once she stopped drinking that blood stuff? Oh my God, today. I think I was kind of scared to send it to myself. Did I send it to myself? I don't think I did because it was horrifying. It was horrifying to see what she looked like when John Kerry, Netanyahu wants Obama to strike, or he wanted. Oh, did he? He wanted Obama. And Obama, hold on, that's what Obama said.
Times that Netanyahu was taken into the situation where he basically pitched Trump on attacking Iran. Were you ever a part of any conversation? You've probably sat across the table from Prime Minister Netanyahu more than almost anyone else out there, and he and Israel are, of course, big factors here. There's been recent reporting, you probably saw in the New York Times, that Netanyahu was taken into the situation where he basically pitched Trump on attacking Iran. Were you ever a part of any conversations like that? I know he's made that pitches to past administrations. Were you ever a part of that? And were you surprised that he was able to convince Trump to do this?
Well, I was part of any number of conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
But of him pitching the U.S. to strike Iran.
Yes, he wanted us to strike. He came to President Obama. He made a presentation that asked to strike. President Obama refused. President Biden refused. President Bush refused. The only president who has agreed to this, obviously, is President Trump. And it's really...
You've probably sat across the table from Prime Minister Netanyahu more than almost anyone else out there. And he and Israel are, of course, big factors here. There's been recent reporting, you probably saw in the New York Times, that Netanyahu was taken into the situation where he basically pitched Trump on attacking Iran. Were you ever a part of any conversations like that? I know he's made that pitches to past administrations. Were you ever a part of that? And were you surprised that he was able to convince Trump to do this?
Well, I was part of any number of conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
But of him pitching the U.S. to strike Iran.
Yes, he wanted us to strike. He came to President Obama. He made a presentation that asked to strike. President Obama...
So this is the pattern of all these different presidents.
Well, I was part of any number of conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
But of him
Conversations that took
pitching
place in other
the
countries.
U.S. to strike Iran.
Yes, he wanted us to strike. He came to President Obama. He made a presentation that asked to strike. President Obama refused. President Biden refused. President Bush refused. The only president who has agreed to this, obviously, is President Trump.
The only slow bunny who fell for the $100 million. You know what I mean? He was the only one.
You've probably sat across the table from Prime Minister Netanyahu more than almost anyone else out there, and he and Israel are, of course, big factors here. There's been recent reporting, you probably saw in the New York Times, that Netanyahu was taken into the situation where he basically pitched Trump on attacking Iran. Were you ever a part of any conversations like that? I know he's made that pitches to past administrations. Were you ever a part of that? And were you surprised that he was able to convince Trump to do this?
Well, I was part of any number of conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
But of him pitching the U.S. to strike Iran.
Yes, he wanted us to strike.
He want all of the Middle East.
He made a presentation that asked to strike. President Obama refused. President Biden refused. President Bush refused. The only president who has agreed to this, obviously, is President Trump. And it's really... You've
probably said...
Hold on. He was the only one.
Table from Prime Minister Netanyahu more than almost anyone else out there. And he and Israel are, of course, big factors.
Okay, let's listen to this while I look for what I was looking for. Oh, Lord. Y'all come on, let's go. Bibi Netanyahu, he trying to mess everything up, sabotaging. He don't care nothing about nobody. It's just about what he want. And then, what you gonna do with it? Okay.
The temporary ceasefire is still in place in Iran, but concerns are growing that parts of that deal are not being followed.
The opening of the Strait of Hormuz now hinging on the ability for Israel and Lebanon to reach a deal of their own. Our DC Bureau Chief Ben Kennedy, live in Washington with the latest on this. Ben.
So, Jason Louis, we are hearing reports of the Strait of Hormuz that you were talking about is at a standstill this evening as the White House reminds Iran they signed off on this 2-week ceasefire, which calls for them to reopen the key waterway. Day 2 of the U.S. ceasefire with Iran appeared to show some signs of cracks, with the regime claiming America violated the agreement by allowing Israel to continue strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon, which calls for them to reopen the key waterway. Day 2 of the U.S. ceasefire with Iran appeared to show some signs of cracks, with the regime claiming America violated the agreement by allowing Israel to continue strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon.
I want to tell you, there is no ceasefire in Lebanon.
Netanyahu adds they will soon begin direct negotiations with Lebanon in an effort to keep the fragile 2-week pause in fighting in place.
In order to achieve 2 goals. 1, the disarmament of Hezbollah. And the second, a historic, sustainable peace agreement between Israel.
Why is they not using Bibi Netanyahu voice?
Reporting large-scale IDF attacks in what
Why are they still using the replacement?
In order to achieve 2 goals. 1, the disarmament of Hezbollah. And the second, a historic, sustainable peace agreement between Israel. Tell you, there is no ceasefire in Lebanon.
Netanyahu adds they will soon begin direct negotiations with Lebanon in an effort to keep the fragile 2-week pause in fighting in place.
In order to achieve 2 goals. 1, the disarmament of Hezbollah. And the second, a historic, sustainable peace agreement between Israel and Lebanon.
His remarks follow local media reporting large-scale IDF attacks in what has now been deemed the deadliest day in Lebanon since the start of the conflict. In response, Tehran reportedly now refuses to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
I will reiterate the president's expectation and demand that the Strait of Hormuz is reopened immediately, quickly, and safely. That is his expectation. It has been relayed to him privately that is what's taking place, and these reports publicly are false.
On social media, President Trump called out Iran, saying no nuclear weapons and the Strait of Hormuz will be open and safe, adding all U.S. ships, aircraft, and military personnel will remain in place in and around Iran until such a time as the real agreement reached is fully complied with. A focus of high-level talks in Pakistan Saturday morning between Iran and the U.S., led by Vice President J.D. Vance.
If Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them.
Now, those high-level talks in Pakistan are now just a few hours with a focus of high-level talks in Pakistan Saturday morning between Iran and the U.S., led by Vice President J.D. Vance.
If Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them.
Now, those high-level talks in Pakistan are now just a few hours away as Vice President J.D. Vance says the U.S. is in a good spot.
Yeah, right.
The temporary ceasefire is...
Yeah, right. Now, what you saying, sir? What are you saying?
Country in the world, starting now. You're going to see the biggest crashes happening right. America's going to be the poorest country in the world, starting now.
Oh, wow.
America's going to be the poorest country in the world, starting now. You're going to see the biggest... America's going to be the poorest country in the world, starting now. You're going to see the biggest crashes happening. America's going to be the poorest country in the world, starting now.
Wow.
You're going to see the biggest crashes happening right now.
America's
going to be the poorest country in the world.
And they continue to allow him to stay there. They want us to crash.
America's going to be the poorest country in the world, starting now. America's going to be the poorest country in the world, starting now. You're going to see the biggest crashes happening right now. So that's good for me because the price of gold and silver go up. So this time I went to the slums of Mumbai. But what shocks most people is America never had slums like that. Today, slums are everywhere across America. The slums of Mumbai are spreading across America. So the big shift, it's Russia, China versus America, Europe.
Are y'all listening to what y'all go there?
To shift the yuan to gold. And if they do that, U.S. dollar collapses. If that happens, America. So that's why I've been saying it's commodities, silver and gold.
Yep.
So when the dollar crashes, I get richer. America's going to be the poorest country in the world, starting now. You're going to see the biggest crashes happening right now. So that's good for me because the price of gold and silver go up. So this time I went to the slums of Mumbai. But what shocks most people is America never had slums like that. Today, slums are everywhere across America. The slums of Mumbai are spreading across America. So the big shift, it's Russia, China versus America, Europe. The Chinese are threatening to shift the yuan to gold. And if they do that, U.S. dollar collapses. If that happens, America. So that's why I've been saying it's commodities, silver and gold.
Y'all believe they have set us up like this?
Starting now. You're going to see the biggest crashes happening right now. So that's good for me because the price of gold and silver go up. So this time I went to the slums of Mumbai. But what shocks most people is America never had slums like that. Today, slums are everywhere across America. The slums of Mumbai are spreading across America. So the big shift, it's Russia, China versus America, Europe. The Chinese are threatening to shift the yuan to gold. And if they do that, U.S. dollar collapses. If that happens, America. So that's why I've been saying it's commodities, silver and gold. So when the dollar crashes, I get richer. America's going to be the poorest country in the world, starting now.
And if you gotta hit the like button, please. Oh, I'm on it. Okay, hold on. Oh, Bibi Netanyahu. You have done it this time, dude. I mean to tell you. You've done it.
This afternoon, President Donald Trump went pretty nuclear, actually, on some conservative critics of his, specifically individuals who helped him get elected and are unhappy with the fact that he reneged on his campaign promises, including dragging us into more Middle East wars. And that includes Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Candace Owens, and Megyn Kelly. Jake, before we give you his statement, Mark Levin is going after you.
Hey, y'all, I need for y'all to hit the like button.
Donald Trump just...
Can I get y'all to hit the like button for me, please?
This afternoon,
170
President Donald Trump
people
went,
in, and I only got 19 likes. Can I get y'all to double tap those 3 dots at the top right corner? I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you for all the views on the live before this one. I think it was 209K. Thank you. Let's keep that going. Hit the like button. Thank you.
This afternoon, President Donald Trump went pretty nuclear, actually, on some conservative critics of his, specifically individuals who helped him get elected and are unhappy with the fact that he reneged on his campaign promises, including dragging us into more Middle East wars. And that includes Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Candace Owens, and Megyn Kelly. Jake, before we give you his statement,
we're gonna
Mark
watch
Levin is going after you because of your statement about this on X. Your 2 cents?
Mark Levin. Okay, so this is political suicide for Donald Trump. So he is cutting off the most popular broadcasters on his own side, and he's going with the least likable person in America, Mark Levin. He'll be down to about 2 voters by the end. So Tucker and the rest are doing something smart. They're trying to save the right wing from Donald Trump in the future. But right now, the GOP is in a world of trouble. Because I'm going to tell you something after Anna gives you the facts about this temper tantrum as to why this will affect the midterms so much. You have to hear why that is. So Anna, give us the facts.
So please bear with us as I go through this very, very long post by President Trump. It does seem as though his former supporters have really struck a nerve here. But here's what he says. I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have all been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror, to have a nuclear weapon, because they have one thing in common: low IQs.
Oh, wow.
Right, low IQs. Now look, I'm gonna keep going and read the rest of the statement, but even if you disagree with everything Tucker Carlson has to say, to argue that he has a low IQ, especially relative to Donald Trump, is maybe the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life, okay? Same goes for the rest, honestly. Even Alex Jones. Alex Jones might be a lunatic, but I think he's even smarter than our president. I genuinely do. That's not a compliment for Alex Jones, but it's definitely an insult toward our president. Let me continue. He continues by saying that they're stupid people. They know it. Their families know it, and everyone else knows it too. Look at their past, look at their record. They don't have what it takes, and they never did. Well, they were never stupid enough to get manipulated by the Israelis to enter a devastating war that you are now desperately trying to exit, but can't. But I continue. He also says, they've all been thrown off television, lost their shows, and aren't even invited on TV because no one cares about them. They're nut jobs, troublemakers, and will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. A few of these people have never had actually several of them have never had Alex Jones has never had a TV show, neither did Candace Owens. But okay, Candace Owens got fired from the Daily Wires network because she had the audacity to criticize precious Israel. Now they think that they get some clicks because they have third-rate podcasts, but nobody's talking about them. And their views are the opposite of MAGA, or I wouldn't have won the presidential election in a landslide. By the way, all 4 of these individuals helped Trump get elected, not just the first time around, but also the second time around.
Absolutely.
MAGA agrees with me and just gave CNN a 100% approval rating of Trump, not hand-flailing fools like Tucker Carlson, who couldn't even finish college. He was a broken man when he first got fired from Fox, and he's never been the same. Perhaps he should see a good psychiatrist. Or Megyn Kelly, who nastily asked me the now famous only Rosie O'Donnell question, or crazy Candace Owens, who accuses me or accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man when she is not, and will hopefully win lots of money in the ongoing lawsuit. Actually, to me, the First Lady of France is a far more beautiful woman than Candace. In fact, it's not even close. I gotta stop for comment, Cenk. I gotta stop for comment. There's more, believe it or not. There is more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
But
yeah. So he's proving how
Hey, Aunt Esther.
high IQ he is by getting into a debate about who's prettier, Candace Owens or the First Lady of France.
yeah,
Because
yep.
that's relevant in
Yeah,
the middle of a war with Iran, etc. A very stable genius.
Yeah.
So literally everything he said about them, low IQ, nut jobs, losers, and even supporting Iran, is nothing but projection. That is exactly what he is. He's a loser, low IQ nut job. And how's he supporting Iran? He just got Iran $2 million a ship through the Strait of Hormuz.
Wow.
Iran's going to be loaded.
Yeah, and
So
the
literally
bad people,
everything
so he
said about
said.
them, low IQ, nut jobs,
That's him.
losers, and even supporting Iran, is nothing but projection. That is exactly what he is. He's a loser, low IQ nut job. And how's he supporting Iran? He just got Iran $2 million a ship through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's going to be loaded. He couldn't have helped Iran anymore if he tried. He's a moron of epic proportions. So, look, I'm going to get to, again, why this is going to affect the midterm so much in a sec. But one more thing here. Trump, Israel First has gotten into what Joe Kent and I talked about when I interviewed him here on the Young Turks. They've gotten into what the military calls his OODA loop. And an OODA loop is the things that surround a person, right? Their sphere of experience. So something huge might be happening, but if you're not aware of it, then it's not in your OODA loop, okay? And that's an acronym, military acronym. So in Trump's world, he's not seeing how popular Tucker Carlson is and the rest, because he only watches TV and mainly watches Fox News. So in his OODA loop, everything is, oh my God, the Israelis are the greatest. And my God, the whole country loves Israel and wants you to only serve Israel, right? So he really thinks that's what's happening in the country. And he thinks, oh, since I'm not seeing them, they must be tiny and irrelevant now. So he's attacking them with what he thinks is impunity, because he thinks they're not that relevant anymore. He has no idea that only boomers like him are left watching TV, and that they're the now tiny minority compared to everyone else watching shows online and in other places. That's why he's among the reasons why he's so incredibly clueless.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I don't know about Alex Jones, because the whole Sandy Hook shooting debacle might have really hurt him and his business. But for the other three, they're bigger than ever. Their online audiences are far larger than they were previously. Certainly when it comes to Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens had a sizable audience when she was at the Daily Wire. It's only gotten way, way bigger since leaving the Daily Wire. So, I mean, these claims are absolutely ridiculous. Same with Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly has a huge audience. So with all of that in mind, let's get to what he had to say about Alex Jones. He knows that
people know his dirt.
Incredibly clueless.
Yes,
so he's trying to be insulting because they pegged him correctly. I don't know about
Alex Jones, because the whole Sandy Hook shooting debacle might have really hurt him and his business. But for the other three, they're bigger than ever. Their online audiences are far larger than they were previously. Certainly when it comes to Tucker Carlson.
Shout out to Candace Owens.
Had a sizable audience when she was at the Daily Wire. It's only gotten way, way bigger since leaving the Daily Wire. So, I mean, these claims are absolutely ridiculous. Same with Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly.
She calls it out. She calls it for what it is. She was a part of the cult. Thank God she got out. Thank God she's fighting for her friend, Charlie Kirk. Don't give up. We appreciate all of your truthfulness.
Bigger since leaving the Daily Wire. So, I mean, these claims are absolutely ridiculous. Same with Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly has a huge audience. So with all of that in mind, let's get to what he had to say about Alex Jones. He says, or bankrupt Alex Jones, who says some of the dumbest things and lost his entire fortune, as he should have, for his horrendous attack on the families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims, ridiculously claiming it was a hoax. Look, I actually agree with that excerpt. I think what he did in the Sandy Hook situation was disgusting, and he should have suffered the consequences of terrorizing those poor parents who lost their kids. But let's get to the rest of it. Now, fake news CNN, the failing New York Times, and all of the other radical left news organizations are hailing them and giving them positive press for the first time in their lives. They're not MAGA, they're losers, just trying to latch onto MAGA. As president, I could get them on my side anytime I want to, but when they call, I don't return their calls because I'm too busy on world and country affairs. Don't say country. You couldn't care less about this country. You're too busy, diddling around with the Israelis, causing all sorts of havoc all throughout the Middle East. So, back to you, Cenk.
Yeah, so now let's get to the midterms. So the polling is misleading, guys, because so here's the polling is not inaccurate. Let me explain. So the Republicans are losing to the Democrats in the polling, but the Democrats are not doing that well because their leadership is also despised and also compromised. So people look at that and go, oh, maybe the elections will be close. No, they won't be. The Democrats will win huge by default. Why? Because elections have a second factor that is not talked about nearly enough, which is voter turnout. So ain't nobody gonna go out there and get excited to vote for Trump and the Republicans when they're defying everything that they said before.
Right.
So Trump is attacking all of the most popular broadcasters on his side. He's attacking the idea of no more wars, which is what he ran on. I mean, so for us, what he said about Alex Jones is completely correct. And
you believe Trump
for a lot
a
of
pimp
MAGA,
name?
They don't like to hear that.
You believe what
right?
he said?
That's
Nobody
how
called
he's attacking
him.
Alex Jones.
You
They
sound
don't
slow.
I'm
laughing at you because he made that up in his parasite head. What you talking about? Hi, Amy.
I mean, he is punching his own.
Okay, y'all keep believing in that.
So
Lose y'all
hard.
family. I hope y'all don't have any men between the age of 18 and 24 because they finna go off to this war that has nothing to do with us, and you're not gonna gain anything from it. So carry on.
Think that they're all gonna show up and vote for him. As excited as
he's still gonna lose because he's a loser.
So the Republicans are getting slaughtered in the midterms.
Amy's sick. She drinking that Kool-Aid.
What are they excited about?
She a cult
God,
follower.
I hope we get another war in the Middle East. I hope gas prices are even higher, right?
Yeah.
No, there's going to be no excitement at all.
Drink up. Base. I don't feel so sorry for nobody who's into devil worshippers. Nobody.
He's going deeper and deeper into, thrusting the metaphorical sword into his own gut. I mean, he's got a lot of room to go, but so. This is as devastating as it gets for those. And by the way, look, you got to.
But I got something for you,
folks.
Trump lovers.
Massive
you hold on.
We have certainly with the Alex Jones of the world, etc. But when the push came to shove, are you going to stick with your principles of no new wars, no Middle Eastern wars, America first?
All them
lies. Or are you going to just lick Donald Trump's boots? A lot of MAGA and a lot of their influencers chose to lick Donald Trump's boots.
They licked them clean.
And principled among those were Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Tom Massey. And by the way, who's coming out the winner? New poll out, Tom Massey with a double-digit lead against his opponent, backed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump did a rally in that district in Kentucky against Massey, and Massey's still leading by double digits.
Stomped him.
And by the way, Donald Trump is so gone that in this post, he called Marjorie Taylor Greene Marjorie Trader Brown. What is?
He don't have no control. He don't have no control of the mind. He don't have no control of the tail. You know what I mean? Yeah. He just out of control. Yeah, God bless the people who still have faith in it. Don't know about hell. His wife is saying the investigation needs to be open. She trying to get rid of that ass too. Yeah, she's sick of him. Hold on now. Hold your mute. Heck, even the Pope turned on him. Yeah, hold on.
Don't let your vacation rental and your hammock be invisible. Get seen, get booked on Booking.com.
The temporary ceasefire.
Okay, yeah, no. Yeah, let's get there. Let's get there before it gets too late. I want to get there. Yeah, where they start talking about the friends, all the supporters, all the Trump lovers. Oh, no, that's the, yeah. Even his wife
You're caught hanging around.
want him
I
out.
call on Congress to provide the women
I call on
victimized
Congress.
by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors.
Will this start with Donald Trump sitting his ass down and testifying, Melania?
Hey,
Give
JR.
these victims their opportunity to. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing.
If they victimized by Epstein, they victimized by Trump.
Will this start with Donald Trump sitting his ass down and testifying, Melania?
Yeah.
Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony.
If I didn't know any better, I would say that Donald Trump is going down due to what Melania is saying. All right, totally unprompted, totally unscheduled. Nobody even asked for this, but Melania
Even
Trump
his
just
wife
came out and did
ain't believing in him.
In front of Congress with the power of
And they
sworn
coming over here. Y'all coming over here cheerleading. And even his wife is saying time. It's time. It's time to make a change. Yeah, you may have. Yeah, how you get them? I may have just got Netanyahu's son and grandson arrested in China. Well, there was something going on in China. Let's listen here though.
Melania?
Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony.
If I didn't know any better, I would say that Donald Trump is going down due to what Melania is saying. All right, totally unprompted, totally unscheduled. Nobody even asked for this, but Melania Trump just came out and did a 20-minute press conference solely about Jeffrey Epstein.
I just wanted to say Melania definitely wants to get rid of Trump, the diaper and all. She said, I'm sick of it. You stinky, nasty, trifling, ooh, diaper wearing. Ooh, she just went up and down there. Get rid of all of them. But it ain't that simple, though, because she definitely in the Epstein file. She lying if she says she ain't. She most definitely is in the Epstein files. So you can run, but you can't hide. And speaking of running, somebody else said, girl, you been running. Y'all better stop starting wars and shit with people that y'all know that y'all ain't gonna be able to win. I don't know what you had in your head, baby, but you definitely started a war with the wrong person. But carry on. Carry on. Let's go.
Or, as she claims, her lack of relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the reality is, unfortunately for Melania, we have multiple photos of her and Trump standing next to Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. I can assure you guys, the photo on screen now
It's
is
real.
not manipulated. It is not AI in any manner. While there are many fake images floating around, this one has been around for over a decade, maybe even 2 at this point. Melania Trump hung around a lot of the circles that Jeffrey Epstein was in, and there are even conflicting reports about Jeffrey Epstein introducing Melania to Trump. A lot of people close to them have confirmed this. Some have tried to dispute it. I think that Melania Trump knew exactly what was happening to the extent that Trump did. They both understood what was going on with Jeffrey
only
Epstein and
pitch
Ghislaine
she
Maxwell. They both
smiling
understood the
is
dynamic
with
that
corn
was going on
ears.
between these two, in which Ghislaine would kind of lure young girls because she's a woman herself, and then Jeffrey Epstein was like the dude who was pulling all the strings behind the scenes. Just disgusting. And we know that Trump was aware of this. Based on the emails that Epstein sent before he died, he laid out how Donald Trump knew what was happening. So after all of this, after over a year of back and forth, of Pam Bondi being fired because, 12 months ago she said the files are on her desk, Melania Trump comes out with a random, unexpected presser and begins talking about Jeffrey Epstein. I've watched.
She looked like one of the reptilians.
I realized I wanted to react to it with you guys. We've covered every single second of this together. So let's break down together First Lady Melania Trump giving an entire speech, not about saving the children, not about protecting people, not about better, healthier food choices like Michelle Obama did. No, about Jeffrey Epstein. Make sure you drop a like. Double check to make sure you're subscribed to the Adam Mockler feed. Let's check out the first clip right here.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends.
Girl, did you forget you have naked photos? You did that. Yeah, 2 women. You was in the bed. You and another woman. Let's get it on. Did you forget about that? Ow! Let's get it on. Did you forget about your new photos? Your videos? Freaking another woman? Yeah, what respect? She was given to Trump. All he paid for her. He wasn't that big check. Hey, gents. 565, how you doing? She's lying to herself. Yeah, she done picked up her husband's storytelling. Afraid or allergic to the truth. She gonna be shitting on herself tonight for a while, just like he been. Girl, put your girl pamper on. Don't be shamed. Don't be shamed. Let's go.
Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time. Since
Bro, giving same thing. I agree.
Social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice.
The Wonder Oven Pro. It's built to toast, air fry, reheat, roast, bake, broil, dehydrate, and proof. You'll get wing.
Maxwell.
I don't think anybody in the Trump family has any high ground to talk about defamatory or demeaning, mean statements. Donald Trump dances on the grave of every political opponent that dies, even if it's just Rob Reiner, who was brutally murdered. Donald Trump called Ted Cruz's dad the Zodiac Killer, has made incredibly insane remarks throughout his entire career, and all we're saying is, hey, there's a weird amount of photos of Melania Trump, seen on the left, and Jeffrey Epstein, seen on the right. There are a weird number of photos of these two together. What about this one? Dear G, how are you? Nice story about Jeffrey Epstein and NY Mac.
G.
You look great on the picture. I know you're very busy flying all over the world. How was Palm
Absolutely,
Beach?
she knew.
Go down, give me a call.
She knew from the beginning. She was passed off from that other guy.
Love Melania.
To
was
Epstein.
An email sent by Melania to Ghislaine Maxwell about
They can't get their stories right.
Epstein. Melania Trump then goes on to clarify she is not Epstein's victim, and Epstein did not introduce her to Donald Trump. Okay. Who is claiming that Melania Trump was a victim of Epstein? If this is some conspiracy that is floating out there, I'm not privy to it. My claim was never that Melania Trump was a victim of Epstein, but just that she was friends with him and very, very close to what he was doing. My claim is not even that Melania Trump was in some Ghislaine Maxwell
How did she
type
get
thing where
here?
she was funneling children.
And how
I'm
did
just
she
saying,
get the
she
bogus
very least knew everything that was happening and shut her mouth
Einstein
about it, which is
visa?
very, very sickening. But for her to randomly
She
come out
had
and
to
say,
be off
I
in
am
that,
not Epstein's victim,
you
it's
know,
like, dog, I wasn't even accusing you of that. You're just
elite
randomly
stuff.
defending yourself now.
My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at the New
By
York City
chance,
party
no ma'am.
in 1998.
Everything about them is staged. What is
His
she? Is she
initial
a Zionist
encounter-
too? What does she believe in? I wonder. That I don't know. Is she a part of the Zionist cult? Yeah, cause
with my husband is documented in detail in my book.
she took a
Alive.
ride.
Oh, okay, so her source is herself. This is like when
Absolutely,
police
gents.
officers
565.
investigate themselves and find no wrongdoing. Your source for how you met Trump.
I saw earlier, well, a couple of days ago, where Macron from France leaked that picture. Well, it's been leaked of her and Epstein sitting on her lap. Have you seen that one, gents?
Is quite literally a book that you wrote a year ago, and you just said that you met Epstein and you were with Epstein at many different parties.
Yeah, because
so it could follow
they
that when
dated.
you met Trump at this party as well, it was an Epstein party or something of the sort. But again, Melania Trump is coming out and responding to things that no one was really actively thinking about. To me, it's odd to come out and say, I
pulled
was
it
not
back
his
up.
victim.
Let me get it.
I did not traffic kids, and I did not meet a husband at Epstein party. It's like, dude, no one was really even actively thinking about this until you came out very defensively. It makes you wonder what she's trying to distract from, what she's guilty about, what she's trying to lie about, or maybe if she's kind of just trying to throw Trump under the bus.
Because the
she'll
man
continue on about this, talking
who is
about how
suing her,
there are people in the files who do need to be
and she
held
was
accountable,
suing,
but just not her.
there you go.
The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was
But I
in the
have
year
it.
2000
I've been having it.
at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings.
Girl.
Numerous
Like I said early, if Trump was able to go to the feds to snitch on Epstein over their business deal, or well, not business deal, him undermining him on that property that Epstein knew that he could not afford. And the first thing he said, good, I'm glad you're getting him. Everybody knows that he is a PDFer. So, and that was a long time ago, boo-boo. So if he knew and he said everybody knows, then you knew too, period. Point blank, period.
And statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now.
Yeah, you've been knowing.
Be
So why is it a
cautious
problem
about
now?
what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter.
Dude, this is insane to me. It almost reads like Melania Trump was so displeased with the way Donald has been explaining this, was so displeased with the way public perception about the Epstein files have been, that she wanted to come out, Trump be damned, and clear her own name.
Yep.
There's almost no shot Donald Trump greenlit this, right? No way Trump was like, yeah, go live and talk about the Epstein files for 20 minutes and resurface this. I mean, right now with the ceasefire falling through, maybe Trump would rather have the Epstein files back in the news cycle. But here is her continuing to
which
say,
one is worse?
I've never been on Epstein's plane. I was not a participant. I did not go to his private island. Dude, is this like some sort of deposition? Why is she sitting here in a lawyer-like way and just denying all of these comments? Hillary Clinton did this under forceful deposition. Melania is just doing
It's
it.
about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter.
Ain't that what
I have
Trump
never
said?
had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause
Whoa,
damage
it's
to my
The
me.
mean-spirited attacks. I'm sorry, honey. You entered American politics with your husband and have stuck by perhaps the most mean-spirited person in all of American politics. Now, when you're caught hanging around Jeffrey Epstein, you flip that and say, I don't want to be attacked or associated with the very same husband I have stuck by. It's almost like the administration is so desperate to distract you from the Iran war that they're now talking more about Jeffrey Epstein. This is out of control.
behavior. The false smears
Something
about
most
me
definitely is
from
coming.
mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my
So when
good
she
name.
said politically motivated, so she's talking about what's being leaked. She knows it's going to be leaked. Putin's supposed to have some information. Wolf got information. That's why I said that Macron from France. He put, oh, my husband, wife may hit me, but yours fool with your best friend. I think so. When she said political, it's not necessarily Wolf, because Wolf is not political. They have a lawsuit. Political, when she says that makes me think of the ones he got mad at that wouldn't help him, wouldn't support him with the Strait of Hormuz.
Talking more about Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
This is out of control.
Behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically.
How I landed my TEFL job in Germany. For those who are new here.
Y'all please hit the like button.
Must stop.
She was young.
My attorneys and I have fought these unfound and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation.
Jesus Christ. Let me introduce you all to the Streisand effect in real time. The more Melania tries to deny or suppress the story, the more I'm going to read to you all this email. Dear Ghislaine, how are you? Nice story about Jeffrey Epstein and NY Mad. You look great on the picture. I know you are very busy flying all over the world. How is Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you're back in New York. This is more than overlapping social circles. This is a genuine connection. Now, here is Melania Trump saying it's time for Congress to act. My question to Melania is, are you going to tell your husband to testify? Are you going to tell your husband to sit in the same deposition as the Clintons did? Are you going to tell him to tell his side of the story?
Okay. Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone.
Your husband was right there with him.
Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions.
And let's be clear, in those Epstein files, he spoke about how gross and evil Trump was. Somewhere in there, it talked also about the trafficking. He had his fetish. He had his you know, his job with the CIA, but as far as the human trafficking part of it, he learned that from Trump, which made sense when Sasha Riley started talking about his experience. He said Epstein was not the ringleader to what was going on to them. It was Trump. It's coming out. I don't know who or how, but it's coming out. And she knows this.
To Melania is, are you going to tell your husband to testify? Are you going to tell your husband to sit in the same deposition?
The boy,
Are
Trump
you going to
may
tell him to tell his side
have
of the story?
been the bankroll. Yeah, that's what Sasha Riley said.
Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors.
Will this start with Donald Trump sitting his ass down and testifying, Melania?
Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony.
If I didn't know any better, I would say that Donald Trump is going down due to what Melania is saying.
Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story.
She turning on him.
If she wishes. And then her testimony should be permanently entered.
I agree now. Why now?
Into the
How grateful.
record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth.
You think they finna drop all the files?
Wow, Melania Trump coming out with perhaps some of the most fiery words about the Epstein class in the Republican Party in months. We now have...
Yep. Hold on. Let's see what old boy gotta say. Let's see. He been quiet, but he said she hiding from him. She fooled with the wrong one when she tried to do like her husband do and tried to strong arm somebody, manipulate them. I'm coming back to that. Yeah, if she did it to the wrong one.
Melania Trump is hiding from me.
No, she's avoiding you.
Yes.
And how do you know that?
You begin with the fact that it's quite unclear how to sue the First Lady of the United States. There's not a lot of models for this. And then, obviously, it's quite unclear how you serve a subpoena on someone who has one... Melania Trump is hiding from me.
No, she's avoiding you.
Yes.
And how do you know that?
You begin with the fact that it's quite unclear how to sue the First Lady of the United States. There's not a lot of models for this. And then, obviously, it's quite unclear how you serve a subpoena on someone who has one of the most elaborate security details in the world.
She looked like one of them aliens.
Joanna.
I wish people could have seen you come into the office this morning dressed as Nanook of the North.
Well, it was very, very cold when I left at before...
Nevertheless,
6:30 this morning.
You looked like someone from Alaska. I mean, you could raise your leg to show people your
Michael Wolff,
which I couldn't
is
stop laughing at. And you had
she
a hat
tried
on,
to
and you had
sue.
a kind of bear skin of a coat.
Yeah, no.
Him and first
I'm ready.
Biden,
I'm
Hunter Biden, then Michael Wolff, and Michael Wolff turned around and sued her, and she's been running ever since.
Okay, well, there's a lot of occasions coming at us today because we've got the Melania premiere. And we need to know the update.
So this was his last update about him talking about her
this week, which we need to talk about. We've got Mark Burnett pleading with Donald Trump not to drop his address in the middle of the Survivor finale. We've got,
in other words, because we have the president's address, which is key, that comes before the drop of the Epstein files.
Right, and the distraction,
attention.
Right, distraction. The kickoff of the midterms, essentially. We've got 2 engagements to celebrate, and we've got potential war in Europe. So we have a lot to get through.
Okay, so Amanda, we talking about morals, boo. It's not about Democrats or Republicans. Are you crazy? It's about all of the deception, all the lies, the child. Okay, go ahead and handle that, cause she done lost her mind. I don't have it where the peasants can't come in here on that foolishness, cause you know you don't have no morals. You think that this is about left and right, black and white. Do you not have kids? You know, you okay with him sacrificing and trafficking kids and raping? You know, I'm sorry. There are complaints, there are testimonies and everything in the Epstein files. You don't care about the kids? Huh? Amanda? You who? You Amanda? You dummy. You dummy. You don't care nothing about that? That don't have nothing to do with you? Yeah, you okay with the prices that everything going? You okay with him stealing? Yeah, you're okay with the U.S. using our taxpayer dollars to fight for a war that's not ours? You're okay with for our military men and women to lose their lives for a war that's not ours? You're okay with that? You're okay with them taking out Charlie Kirk? I thought he was y'all partner. Yeah, please, lady. I mean, come on. What you on? You okay with all of that? You don't know nothing about that. Yeah, why is his wife turning on him? Are you telling him leave Melania? Melania came out on her own. Well, what you talking about? You stuck on that? Yo, precious little dum-dum. Precious little dum-dum. Let me go see what you want. You know, I ain't did this in a minute. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. You got 2 subscribers. Okay, since 2021. So I'm assuming you are a troll. You stuck on stupid. Is that you, boo-boo? Okay, well, y'all say bye to rum-dum-dum-dum. Bye. You dumber. Yeah. Yeah. Bye, child. I don't have time to stop and play with you. Yeah. I really don't.
The rankings as they stand.
Yeah, I really don't. Child, bye. Child, bye. I just thought I would entertain you for a minute, see where your mind at. Yeah, to see where your mind at. Troll be gone. Thank you, gents. Y'all come on in, hitting the like button. I'm heading on back to the story. Yeah, because this is, let me see how long ago this was. This was 3 months ago. Let me pause, because this was yesterday. And then I'll go back to that one, because this is who is also suing her and requesting depositions.
Power, money, fear, and one journalist who refused to back down.
Let me hear
It is a
this.
story about what happens when the most powerful family in the United States decides that the best way to deal with the truth is to bury it. Not with facts, not with evidence, but with lawyers, delays, and an avalanche
Leave
of legal
Melania
paperwork
alone.
designed to exhaust anyone brave enough to ask inconvenient questions. So buckle up, because this story is far more extraordinary than most people realize. Let's start at the very beginning, because context matters enormously here. Michael Wolff is not some random blogger operating from his basement. He is one of the most consequential political journalists of the last decade. He wrote Fire and Fury, the book that shook the first Trump White House to its foundation. He wrote Siege and Landslide and all. Because this story is far more extraordinary than most people realize. Let's start at the very beginning.
She is
because
just as guilty.
context
I
matters
agree.
enormously here. Michael Wolff is not some random blogger operating from his basement. He is one of the most consequential political journalists of the last decade. He wrote Fire and Fury, the book that shook the first Trump White House to its foundation. He wrote Siege and Landslide and All or Nothing. He has spent years inside the orbit of Donald Trump, talking to aides,
And
advisors,
Epstein.
insiders, and yes, according to Wolff himself, he spent close to 100 hours in conversation with Jeffrey Epstein before Epstein's death in 2019. That is not a small detail. That is an enormous detail. Because what it means is that Michael Wolff potentially knows things, specific, documented, sourced things, about the relationship between the Trumps and Jeffrey Epstein that have never been made public. And apparently, that terrifies someone in the White House enough to threaten him with $1 billion in damages. Yes, you heard that correctly.
Billion.
$1 billion. Not 1 million. Not 10 million. 1 billion. That is the figure that Melania Trump's lawyers put in a threatening letter they sent to Michael Wolff in October 2025. The letter, written by her attorney Alejandro Brito, demanded that Wolff retract statements he had made about Melania's alleged ties to Jeffrey Epstein, statements he had made on a podcast and in articles published by the Daily Beast. The letter called his statements false, defamatory, disparaging, misleading, and inflammatory. It demanded an apology. It demanded silence. And it came with that extraordinary, almost theatrical price tag of $1 billion, presumably designed to make Wolff feel so financially overwhelmed, so completely outgunned, that he would simply fold, apologize, and disappear. Now here is where the story becomes genuinely remarkable, because Michael Wolff did not fold. Michael Wolff did not apologize. Michael Wolff did not disappear. Instead, he did something that almost no journalist in America has dared to do against the Trump family. He sued them first. Before Melania's team could even file their billion-dollar lawsuit, Wolff marched into New York State Supreme Court on October 22nd,
he beat him to it,
and filed his own legal action against the First Lady of the United States. Think about what that takes. Think about the courage, or perhaps the calculated audacity, required to look a billion-dollar legal threat from the most powerful couple in America directly in the eye and say, "No, actually, I am suing you." That is an extraordinary moment, and it deserves to be understood for exactly what it is. The legal vehicle Wolff chose is critically important to understanding everything that follows. He filed under New York's anti-SLAPP statute. SLAPP stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. Exactly what it is. The legal vehicle Wolff chose exactly what it is. The legal vehicle Wolff chose is critically important to understanding everything that follows. He filed under New York's anti-SLAPP statute. SLAPP stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. These are laws specifically designed to protect journalists, writers, and ordinary citizens from being silenced by powerful people who weaponize the legal system not to seek justice, but to create financial ruin. New York has some of the strongest anti-SLAPP protections in the entire country, and Wolff chose New York deliberately and strategically. Under these laws, if a court determines that Melania's original billion-dollar threat was indeed a SLAPP, a lawsuit designed purely to intimidate rather than to address genuine defamation, then not only does Wolff win, but Melania's side could be ordered to pay his legal fees. Furthermore, and this is the part that matters most, by filing in New York, Wolff gained something invaluable: subpoena power. The moment Melania is properly served with this lawsuit, Wolff's legal team gains the ability to subpoena witnesses, demand documents, and compel testimony under oath from Donald Trump, from Melania Trump, from their associates, their friends, anyone connected to their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. That is the nuclear option in this legal battle, and everyone involved knows it. So what does Melania do when faced with this? What does a First Lady do when a journalist she tried to silence turns around and creates a legal mechanism that could force her husband to sit in front of a court reporter and answer questions about Jeffrey Epstein under oath? She does what powerful people have always done throughout history when they cannot win on the facts. She delays. She obstructs.
Stalls.
She throws money and lawyers and procedural complexity at the problem.
And then try to
hopes that
move
sheer
the
weight of it
location.
crushes her opponent before the case ever reaches its merits. Let us talk about the lawyers, because this is where the story becomes almost darkly comic in its excess. When Wolff filed his lawsuit, Melania already had legal representation. Alejandro Brito, her attorney based in Coral Gables, Florida. But as Wolff's lawsuit gained traction, as his crowdfunding campaign raised an astonishing $775,000 from over 15,000 individual donors, proving that ordinary people were hungry to see this case proceed, Melania's team made a significant escalation. She hired DLA Piper. Now, if you are not familiar with DLA Piper, understand this. It is the third largest law firm in the entire world. It operates in over 40 countries. Its hourly billing rates for senior partners are among the highest on earth. We are talking about a law firm that routinely represents multinational corporations, sovereign governments, and billionaires in the most complex litigation on the planet. And the specific partner brought in to handle this case is Josh Halpern, a former Supreme Court clerk, meaning he clerked for a sitting Supreme Court justice. He clerked specifically for Justice Neil Gorsuch, a Trump appointee. The symbolism there is difficult to ignore. Now ask yourself a straightforward question. Why does the First Lady of the United States, whose husband is the sitting president, whose administration controls the Department of Justice, whose allies sit on federal courts across the country, why does that person need the third largest law firm in the world to handle a lawsuit filed by a single journalist? The honest answer is that she does not need DLA Piper to win this case on its legal merits. She needs
Those
DLA Piper
babies
to
now
make this case
missing.
so expensive, so procedurally complex, so exhausting that Michael Wolff and his team of crowdfunded
What
lawyers simply
babies are
cannot
missing,
keep up.
gents?
This is the strategy laid bare. Wolff himself said it plainly. Their resources are infinite while mine, even with the generosity of tens of thousands of donors, are ultimately fixed. That asymmetry is the entire point. Hire the biggest, most expensive firm available, bury the opponent in paperwork, and wait for them to run out of money.
The ones,
And
oh,
the
they
delays
had in
have been both
cages,
numerous
yeah.
and creative. Let us walk through them carefully, because each one reveals something important about the strategy being employed. The first and most fundamental delay is the service problem. In order for a lawsuit to proceed,
So
the defendant
sad.
must be officially served, meaning they must legally receive the court documents. Serving Melania Trump has proven extraordinarily difficult. Wolff revealed that one process-serving firm refused outright to take the job. A second firm tried and failed to locate her. Attempts were made to serve her through her Florida-based lawyer in Coral Gables. Attempts were made at her residence in Trump Tower in New York.
She was
All
running
unsuccessful.
scared.
Now one might ask, how is it possible that the First Lady of the United States, whose movements are tracked, whose security detail is ever present, whose addresses are publicly known, how is it possible that she cannot be located for service of process? The answer is that the First Lady enjoys certain legal protections by virtue of her position that make formal service extraordinarily complicated. She essentially cannot be served in the traditional sense. And Wolff's team has been forced to file a motion for alternative service, asking the court to either deem her served based on the attempts already made, or to propose some alternative legally acceptable method of delivery. Here is the crucial twist, though, and this is where Melania's team has been genuinely clever in a deeply cynical way. The moment Wolff filed his motion for alternative service in New York State Court, Melania's newly hired DLA Piper team made their move. They asked a federal judge to take jurisdiction of the case away from the New York State Court and move it to the federal court system. Why is this significant? Because that procedural maneuver instantly stayed, meaning froze, any decision on the alternative service motion.
He tried
So in
to
federal
blame
court,
Biden.
Melania can once
Trump
again
hit
argue she
them
has not
when he
been
lost.
properly served.
Absolutely.
The problem that made her impossible to serve
He got to
in
blame
state court
everybody. He
has
don't take
followed her in
ownership
the
for
federal
nothing.
court, and the motion that might have
Nothing.
resolved it has been neutralized. It is a procedural loop deliberately constructed, designed to keep the case spinning in procedural limbo indefinitely. The venue fight itself deserves deep scrutiny, because the arguments being made on Melania's behalf reveal something important. Her lawyers are arguing that this case should be moved not just to federal court, but ultimately to the Southern District of Florida, where, not coincidentally, Judge Aileen Cannon presides.
That one.
Cannon is the Trump-appointed judge who became infamous for her handling of Trump's classified documents case, widely criticized by legal scholars for rulings that appeared to favor the former president before the case was ultimately dismissed. White House insiders have reportedly referred to her as future Supreme Court Justice Aileen Cannon. The implication of seeking to move this case to her jurisdiction is not subtle. It is a naked attempt to find friendlier legal terrain, away from New York's robust anti-SLAPP protections, and toward a jurisdiction where the case might be handled by a judge with demonstrated sympathy toward the Trump family. The irony of Melania's venue argument is almost too rich. Her lawyers have argued with apparent seriousness that keeping the case in New York, a state with stronger free speech protections, would be, in their words, a complete perversion of justice. Read that again. They are arguing that protecting free speech too aggressively is a perversion of justice. They are making the case, on behalf of the First Lady of the United States, that a journalist should have fewer legal protections from intimidation than New York law currently provides. They are essentially arguing for a system where powerful people can threaten journalists with billion-dollar lawsuits more easily. That position, stated plainly, should alarm anyone who cares about the First Amendment, regardless of their political affiliation. There is also the deeply uncomfortable question of what it means to threaten a journalist of Wolff's specific background and knowledge. This is not a case of a powerful person being irritated by inaccurate gossip from someone with no particular insight. Michael Wolff claims to have spent nearly 100 hours in direct conversation with Jeffrey Epstein. He has been inside Trump's world for years. He is writing a book specifically about Melania Trump and her relationship to the Epstein saga. The threat letter sent to him was not merely a legal document. It was a message. It was a signal to Wolf and to every other journalist watching that the cost of pursuing this particular story would be existential. A billion-dollar lawsuit does not just threaten one journalist. It sends a message to every editor, every publisher, every media organization in America that the price of covering certain stories about certain powerful people could be financial ruin. And it had a chilling effect. The Daily Beast, the publication that had run Wolf's original article about Melania's alleged involvement in the Epstein files controversy, issued a retraction and an apology. They pulled the article entirely. The full text is no longer available. That is not a small thing. A publication with significant resources looked at a legal threat from the First Lady's team and decided the fight was not worth it. That is precisely what slap suits are designed to achieve. Not necessarily a courtroom victory, but a chilling of speech before the legal process even fully begins. Wolf himself acknowledged this dynamic explicitly. He wrote that the Trumps have made a practice of threatening those who speak against them with costly slap actions in order to silence speech, intimidate critics, and extract unjustified payments in what he called North Korean-style confessions and apologies. But here is what makes Wolf's decision to fight back so significant in the broader context of American press freedom right now. He is not doing this in a vacuum. He is doing this at a moment when major American media organizations have been settling cases with Trump at an alarming rate. News Corp, ABC News, CBS, significant settlements have been paid, significant apologies have been issued by organizations with enormous legal and financial resources. If those organizations, with their teams of lawyers and their deep pockets, decided that settling with Trump was preferable to fighting, what does it say about one journalist who decides to not just fight, but to go on offense? It says something important about either extraordinary courage or extraordinary conviction in the strength of his position.
I used PayPal to buy this ticket. I'm paying it off over time. No fees, no interest.
You know what else is no interest? He's standing up to him.
Possibly both. Wolf has been refreshingly candid about his motivations and his strategy. He has said that he would like nothing better than to get Donald Trump and Melania Trump under oath in front of a court reporter and find out all the details of their relationship with
Absolutely.
Epstein. He is not pretending this
Hi,
is purely
Deborah.
about legal principle. He wants the deposition. He wants the subpoenas. He wants the discovery process. He has launched a GoFundMe that has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars from ordinary people who apparently share his desire to see that
you won't be
testimony
talking
obtained.
ill over
He writes
here.
about the
Bye,
case
Deborah. Y'all say
regularly
bye
on
to
Substack,
Deborah.
narrating the legal
Dust
proceedings
bucket.
in real time, creating a public record of every
Don't come
delay
over here
tactic,
cussing,
every procedure
cause he
maneuver,
finna go down.
every expensive lawyer added to the roster. In doing so, he has turned the lawsuit itself into a form of journalism, a public accountability exercise conducted through the courts, rather than through
Absolutely, Michelle.
And what has the response from Melania's side been beyond the lawyers and the delays? Denial, dismissal, and character assassination. White House Communications Director Stephen Chung called Wolf a lying sack of something unprintable. Melania's own office issued a statement saying she is proud to stand up to those who spread malicious and defamatory falsehoods. Her legal team has called him a serial liar. None of these responses engage with the substance of what Wolf has actually written or said. None of them present counter-evidence. None of them address the specific claims about Epstein with documented facts. They are rhetorical attacks designed to discredit the messenger without ever actually engaging with the message. Sensitizing this entire scenario requires stepping back and looking at the structural picture. We have a sitting president and first lady who have threatened a journalist with $1 billion lawsuit for discussing their connections to one of the most notorious criminals in American history. That journalist, instead of backing down, sued them first under laws specifically designed to protect free speech. In response, they hired one of the most expensive law firms on earth, made it impossible to officially serve the lawsuit, moved the case to federal court to neutralize a service motion, and are now seeking to transfer it to a jurisdiction with a judge sympathetic to their interests. Meanwhile,
Hey,
the journalist is
Cisco.
being funded by ordinary citizens who
Dust bucket. They over here tonight,
is
ain't they?
documenting every delay publicly in real time. What we are witnessing is not simply a celebrity legal dispute. It is a test of whether the American legal system can be used as a weapon to silence journalism about powerful people. It is a test of whether financial asymmetry, the ability to throw unlimited legal resources at a problem, can substitute
Hi,
for
Adrian.
factual defense. It is a test of whether the institutions designed to protect free speech in America are strong enough to withstand the pressure being applied to them. And it is a test of one man's willingness to keep asking questions that very powerful people would very much prefer he stop asking. The fact that Melania's lawyers are going to these extraordinary lengths, the world's third largest law firm, the venue shopping, the service evasion, the procedural loops, is itself a story. Because innocent people with nothing to hide do not typically respond to journalism with billion-dollar threats.
Right.
They do not hire Supreme Court clerks from global megafirms to fight off a single author's lawsuit. They do not seek to move cases to friendlier jurisdictions. They respond with facts. They respond with evidence. They engage with the substance of what is being said and demonstrate that it is false. The strategy being employed here is not the strategy of someone confident in the truth of their position. It is the strategy of someone who wants this case to go away before anyone gets to ask questions under oath.
That's not
Michael
happening.
Wolff may win this case. He may lose it. The legal road ahead is long, expensive, and uncertain. But what is already clear, regardless of the ultimate legal outcome, is that the attempt to silence him has instead amplified the story 1,000-fold. Every expensive lawyer hired, every delay tactic deployed, every procedural maneuver executed has generated more headlines, more public interest, more crowdfunding dollars flowing into Wolff's legal fund. The Streisand effect, the phenomenon where attempting to suppress information makes it dramatically more visible, is operating here in real time and at full force. The more aggressively this case is fought against Wolff, the more people want to know what it is that someone is so desperate to keep him from saying. That is the story. That is the real documented sourced story underneath all the legal jargon and procedural complexity. And it is a story that is far from over.
These glasses automatically
I
turn
agree.
into
It's far
sunglasses.
from over. Look at here, y'all. It is all of this. I'm listening to some of my ear. Right here. This guy right here. No, what are we doing, y'all? They just, they stay playing in our face, don't they? They stay playing in our face. So, listen. This right here is saying Netanyahu office condemns Pakistan minister calling Israel evil after Lebanon. Why is it Netanyahu office? Where is he? I mean, where is he really? You know, I know they say he made it out both times and he's still alive. I don't believe that. Oh, I'm very low. Oh, okay. I'm very low. Hold on. I don't believe it. I think he gone. I think they holding on. They done got replacements. They had an interim at first. No, they had a, what was he called? That guy that looked like, who was on that roof with Charlie Kirk. He wasn't a fill-in. He was a temporary replacement. Y'all remember? T-Sippers, y'all remember they had a temporary replacement. And then they had a interim. And it was the 15th. They said that they was going to announce that he was March, that he was unalive. And I guess the clone wasn't coming in time enough. Because remember, the U.S. didn't want us to know the truth about Bibi Netanyahu. So every time I turn around, like he was talking, I showed him earlier, it wasn't his voice. You know, he wasn't talking. It went from the coffee shop to, you know, sitting out in the country, you know, with misdated people still had masks on. Y'all remember all of that? So when I just saw this, I said, now, why do it say Netanyahu office? Huh? And who are you? Says Prime Minister Netanyahu office. That's what it say down here. Prime Minister, oh, well, let me show you. Prime Minister Netanyahu office condemns Defense Minister for calling Israel evil. Now, why is it worded like that? Prime Minister Netanyahu office. Where he at? I'm just asking y'all. I really want to know. And I'm sure if Trump could get away with it, they would do the same thing they did with Biden with Trump. But he has done such a horrible job. They ain't gonna let that happen. But Prime Minister Netanyahu office. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's move on. Let's move on. Because I am not going to be up with y'all all night tonight. Bibi Netanyahu office. Prime Minister. They sure be playing in our face. And the reality of it is that we wouldn't even know that they had a fake a fake Biden had the Epstein files not told us. Ain't that something? And then you go look at him, and oh wow, he do look different than Biden. Just like that coffee drinker where the coffee didn't go down Netanyahu. The coffee Netanyahu. Yeah. Where the coffee, the foam, none of that hit his lip. But we supposed to continue to play dumb. Okay. What time is it? Let me see. I don't want to spend too much more time because
Melania Trump is hiding from me.
No, she's avoiding you.
Yes.
And how do you know that?
You begin with the fact that no one, suddenly and unexpectedly, he finds that what he's done has caused the First Lady now to be sued.
Avoiding you.
Yes. Chance even of filing just to get someone to shut up. So we have filed the suit. We filed that suit on October 22nd. So.
Let me back up. I don't know where I was.
There's always doubt about that. Certainly has become one now since he has come into the White House for his second time around.
Okay, so Melania, tell us where you are with your case.
I am,
You've been promising an update.
as viewers of this podcast perhaps know, suing Melania. I am suing her because she threatened to sue me for $1 billion because I talked about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, which is the last thing she wants to have talked about, especially because this documentary project is coming up, which she has so much money at stake here. And I dare say we are not in this documentary going to hear the name Jeffrey Epstein. But let me evoke the name Jeffrey Epstein.
Epstein.
So when she sued, when she threatened to sue me for discussing her relationship with
Next
Jeffrey
time, keep
Epstein
your mouth
and
closed,
Donald
lady.
Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and the three of them together. Before
what? What do you say? Friendship, right?
Let me evoke the name Jeffrey Epstein.
Epstein.
So when she sued, when she threatened to sue me for discussing her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and the three of them together, before she could file that suit, I sued her. Because in New York State, it is illegal to use libel laws to intimidate someone. In other words, to file a suit which you have no chance of winning, or threaten a suit which you have no chance even of filing, just to get someone to shut up. So we have filed the suit. We filed that suit on October 22nd. So when you sue someone, you have to serve them. You have to officially notify them that they are being sued. And it's a very formal process. And if you get your service wrong, your suit can be thrown out on that basis. So which is why often people who know they're going to be sued hide from the process servers.
So this is someone actually physically turns up and gives you an envelope.
Yes, you
I know
have
this
to.
'cause I've been
I mean,
sued,
yes,
I've had that happen
yes,
to
yes.
me.
I mean, there's a very clear procedures for this of how you have to do it, who does it. I mean, it's kind of ritualistic, but at the same time, it's they hold you to it. You got to do this.
You can't
It would appear that Melania Trump is hiding from me.
No, she's avoiding you.
Yes, yes, yes.
And how do you know that? Have you tried to serve him?
So
Serve
we
her?
have, first thing you begin with the fact that it's quite unclear how to sue the First Lady of the United States.
Well, it's the first time it's happened.
There's not a lot of models for this. And then obviously it's quite unclear how you serve a subpoena on someone who has one of the most elaborate security details in the world.
Right.
Okay, two impediments here. But you would think that there would be a kind of, okay, this is going to happen and eventually will happen, or you go to court and explain what you've done to the court, and then the court says, yeah, you've made every effort here, so let's consider
And you can't
this.
serve her lawyer. You can't send
Well, no,
someone
you
to her
can.
lawyer's
You
office.
can. You should be able to. In fact, in that original threat letter from her lawyer, a man by the name of Alejandra Brito, yes, in Coral Gables, Florida, said, please direct all your communications to Melania Trump through this office, through me. So, okay, great. So we went to his office to serve him, and he said, no, I'm not accepting service. And that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you don't know. It may well have been that he's just been he's handling the other Trump libel suits against the BBC, against the New York Times, Wall Street Journal. So it may be that he just got the libel portfolio. Yeah. You deal with all this stuff, and then suddenly and unexpectedly, he finds that what he's done has caused the First Lady now to be sued, which, let's imagine, she's not too happy about. And remember,
I'm not happy about being sued.
Because having been sued, we can now subpoena her to come in and testify about what she knows about Jeffrey Epstein.
Be best sued.
Yes.
Be best sued.
So it may be that he's in trouble about this. So anyway, so he said, no, I'm not accepting service. So
Can
therefore,
you send it to the White House? Can you serve the White House?
well, then I mean the White House is probably the hardest place to serve, and that guard post on Pennsylvania Avenue. I mean, actually, I know those guys. They're always very nice guys, but I'm sure that they're like, I don't know. But she doesn't live there.
She doesn't live at the White House.
So therefore, we took the next logical step, which is to serve her at Trump Tower in New York. So we got the server company, the subpoena guys. We said, we need you to serve papers on someone at Trump Tower, and they were like, okay, yeah, no problem. I suspect that a lot of people in Trump Tower get served subpoenas. It's a whole building of dubious characters. Anyway, they took the service, and then after they accepted this, began, and somewhere sort of as though midway in this, we got a call, and they were saying, hey, you're trying to serve the First Lady. We're not doing that.
Who called you?
The subpoena guy,
Okay.
the subpoena people. So, they're like, no way are we serving the First Lady of the United States.
Why not?
And you get a sense, I mean, that sense that this is totally unfamiliar territory.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got another service company who, and this was just yesterday, they went to Trump Tower, and two interesting things. They were the guys at Trump Tower said, we're just going to throw that in the garbage. We're not taking that. But to the question of whether or not Melania Trump resides here, they said yes.
Oh.
So we now have specific testimony by people who would certainly know that Melania Trump lives at Trump Tower. She does not live in the White House.
What's wrong with his eye? Do he look like he have a black eye to y'all? Does Barron look like he got a black eye? Where a purple hard eye, a purple eye? Does he look bruised to you? Right here. Oh, well, hey, Pamela. Does he look purple? Oh, wow. Okay, well, let's continue. I just saw that, and what's really going on? She lived where? So she was lying.
Although seems to have been spending somewhat. The guys at Trump Tower said, we're just going to throw that in the garbage. We're not taking that. But to the question of whether or not Melania Trump resides here, they said yes.
Oh.
So we now have specific testimony by people who would certainly know that Melania Trump lives at Trump Tower. She does not live in the White House. Although seems to have been spending somewhat more time in the White House recently, and maybe that's actually to hide from me.
So Melania Trump is hiding from you, and in fact, it turns out she lives, after all, in Trump Tower.
Indeed.
She came out
so at any rate,
but it still leaves you with papers.
No, still. So we will, and I believe this is happening on Friday. We go into court and explain what we've done, and then the court. And this is pro forma. I mean, you're filing. You're essentially just filing papers.
A lot of court actions
court
that we don't know
yes,
nothing about.
You have.
What made all the possible efforts that you've
why they would be hiding, why they would be putting up this effort is unclear. But anyway, she will be served by the end of this week.
But isn't this what Trump always does? Delay, push.
Yes,
right.
yes, just the Trump.
So she'll be served on the day. You'll go to court on the day the Epstein files are, in theory, released, whatever they contain.
Yes.
Well, this is very exciting. So 2 days after her trailer drops, she'll be the first lady to be sued officially in court. Or the next stage of the case will go ahead.
Yes, and she will have
trying to understand what's going on, why she came out today.
I will answer questions about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and perhaps
come on, tell him
schedule
that she used to date him.
The day the documentary opens.
The day the music died. Oh, Melania. Well. Oh my goodness. Oh,
go on and tell my people that she used to date him so I can go on and
say that I have an account of this, and I must say, an amusing account.
Oh, you mean you're writing it? Is this going to be your next book?
No, this is just a dispatch, a Melania dispatch on my Substack page.
Delicious. All right, so Donald Trump is addressing the nation this evening.
By Jeffrey Epstein's account, he dated Melania.
This is because this evening is
and sold her to Trump.
It's the finale of Survivor.
It's the finale of Survivor, right?
The finale of Survivor.
And she knows that Michael Wolff knows this. That's why she tried to act like she was going to sue him.
You're Mark Burnett, who gets the
now
lion's
she
share
hiding
of the
from
revenues from this television show. You're
Is
you're
she the
really
one
unhappy if anything comes
setting
around
Trump
Well,
to
also,
towers
how
on fire
how out of
when
touch are
cooking?
you as a president
Oh,
or the
I
team
didn't know
around the
that. She can't
president to
cook.
not
No,
know
they got
it's the
maids, don't
finale of
they?
Survivor? Because also the president's going to want good ratings for this, and that's not going to help. My money's on Survivor.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that he doesn't. I mean, first thing, I'm not sure that that's true. This is going to be. I'm assuming all three networks are going to carry this. So he's not going to be competing with Survivor. Survivor is either pushed off the air at that moment in time or delayed. I mean, I don't know how they
Or interrupted. Maybe
yes,
they interrupt
right.
it.
But he has all three networks. This is as though the old days.
Well, four if you count Fox News.
Yeah. Well, that's not a.
Oh, it's cable.
Yes.
Cable. Okay.
I'm sure it will be carried by MSNBC and see. It's all. But nevertheless, it's wall to wall. You're going to get the president of the United States because he's called up the television world and said, "Here I come." Now that's interesting in itself, because given all of the competition in the television world over the last quite some time now, and certainly the last the Biden presidency and the Obama presidency, when they called up the networks have said, maybe not, and this didn't used to be true in the old days when the president called everybody preempted. Yes.
Right, of course.
But
You're
now
welcome,
with cable
Joe.
and with that, why do we have to do this? So it's interesting that he seems to have gotten that traditional regard, and that may have come about because he threatens all these networks. If you're not his friend, you're his enemy, and he goes after you. So everybody's like, okay, sure.
Well, and ABC and CBS have already had big settlements with him, $50 million, $16 million.
Yeah. No, so, and of course, in the old days, you called up the networks because you had something important to say. It might appear now that he has nothing important to say. Of course, we don't know this because it hasn't happened yet. But all indications are that he has commandeered the networks to tell the country what a great job he's done.
I was thinking it might be a pronouncement about Venezuela, but according to The Hill, it's an up sum of the year and how great the year has gone, and then looking forward to an even greater year for 2026.
I think that one of the ways you can read this as the launch of the midterm campaign. I mean, depending upon how you see this year has certainly been a dramatic year. But whether or not you see it as a great year or an utterly failed year is, well, partly what the next election will be about.
But isn't this also about just the Epstein files are due to arrive on Friday?
Yes, well, that is the other yes, coincidence of this. He's got the Epstein files, which will land on Friday. Nobody knows what the reaction. Nobody knows what's in those files. He probably doesn't know really what's in those files. And his chief of staff, in that Vanity Fair interview, has already corrected his version of what's in these files.
So you're referring to Chris Whipple's piece on Susie Wiles?
Yes.
Or many interviews with Susie Wiles.
In which he said, it's Clinton, it's bad for Clinton, and she says, oh yeah, no, it's not bad for Clinton at all.
Right, and she says Clinton never went to the island.
Yes.
Bill Clinton, who's also been summoned to speak before the Oversight Committee this week. I mean, actually, he's due to speak tomorrow, or they've requested him to speak tomorrow, but he's been, trying to push that off.
Right.
Which I'm assuming he'll succeed in, but maybe not. All right, so distraction, Epstein, and then some happy news, 2 engagements, not 1, but 2. Don Jr. to Bettina Anderson. Thoughts?
Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Well, she's in Greece now. You're going to have to go to Athens to see her.
I mean, Kimberly Guilfoyle, to me, is one of the great Trump personalities.
And to be fair, just to remind people, she was Don Jr.'s previous girlfriend, having...
Fiancé.
Okay. Having amazingly been married to Gavin Newsom when he was mayor of San Francisco. How she crossed the aisle, I do not know.
Well, she crossed the aisle. She was a prosecutor in San Francisco.
Right.
But she wanted to be on television. And she did a lot of local television, and then she got the call to come to Fox News, and that was what Roger Ailes always liked. He liked two things: women who looked a certain way and who were prosecutors. It's just a weird mix
Megyn
there.
Kelly was a prosecutor.
Yes, weird. But anyway, she came. She went to work for Fox News and changed her politics utterly.
Well, she changed her politics.
Completely.
She changed her face. She changed her hair. I mean, she went full MAGA. Do you remember when she did that? Yelling at the RNC, the best is yet to come.
I do. And then she got a series of higher and higher profile boyfriends, and including,
Yeah, I stepped away. Who they talking about?
11 Days. I mean, he's a friend of yours, and he's sometimes a friend of mine. The 11 Days of Anthony Scaramucci. Well, that was a...
She went out with Anthony Scaramucci.
Is he still talking about Melania?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, but I do remember meeting her at a dinner in Connecticut when she was with a boyfriend. It was post Gavin Newsom, and I said, "Oh, hi, what do you do to him?" And she said, "He's the best Porsche salesman on the whole of the Northeast coast."
I see. Now, I attended Roger Ailes' funeral in Palm Beach.
Memorably caught in your book, The Fall.
I'm pausing, y'all. Get the like up. I'm going to pause for a cause. Get the likes up. Like, share, and subscribe. Join the membership or get your membership. Become a part of the Tea Palace. Auntie Fee, what Kim saying? Huh? Kim Jong said, look, he said Israel is not a country. Why we playing? Why we giving Bibi Netanyahu like he a country? What we doing? It's not a country. It calls it a terror project backed by Trump. He said they are not a country. This is that make-believe stuff. Y'all still falling. Yeah, they trying to take over the Middle East because they not a country. They're going to build their own country. I'm telling y'all that these people think that they are God. They're trying to do what God has done. So Kim Jong said, I don't know what Trump on. I don't know why he playing. He is not a country. It's levels to this, and they are not on our level. So why y'all faking and shaking? Israel, the nation, is land. It's some land they done stole. They are not a country. Wow. Are y'all getting the likes up? No, double tap. Hit those 3 dots at the top right corner. Wow. Zionists. This is politics. Yeah. They are a political group. Code. Let me say that. And y'all trying to fake and shake like they are a country. This is not biblical. The Israel that's in the Bible is Jacob. Are we talking about Israel, Leggy? We know our history. Trying to educate the dump. We trying to, what you think about Israel? Since you trying to change the subject, Leggy. Yeah, what about the what is it? The state of Israel. What's your opinion there? Let's go. Yeah. Yeah. Since you want to try to steer us in a different direction, what about the state of Israel? Is it a country? And I ain't finna wait on you too long. Y'all say bye to left leg. Yeah, you really a lefty. Yeah. While you trying to change the topic. Yeah, y'all say bye. Yeah. Get on. Get on. Like he said, they are not a country. They are thieves. Yeah. Let's finish this up because I got one more place I want to go. Why they trying to play in our face? Yeah.
Yes, in this was in the spring of
This was when
2017.
Sean Hannity
And-
wouldn't let Laura Ingraham, was it Laura Ingraham?
Laura Ingraham.
Wouldn't let Laura Ingraham on his plane because she was so drunk he was frightened she was going to vomit.
Yes, exactly. And
these are the sort of details we like.
no, well, I have another
Hey,
detail
Pink
that
Fur.
Kimberly Guilfoyle was on this this flight, and she was in widow's weeds. And as my wife, who was on the flight, observed, and in widow's weeds, without underwear.
What do you mean?
Commando.
What do you mean she was without underwear?
Well, she was.
We talking about why we at war. Why our kids, our young men are finna be drafted into a water that's nothing to do with us. And that is not a country.
Very difficult.
No, and actually,
It's about
I have the
stealing.
exact opposite reaction around Kimberly Guilfoyle. It's really to look away. I mean, there's something.
Yeah, that's why she trying to come clean. Graping our kids. Let me get on. See what's next. Because I'm not going to be here all night. Late in the morning. And y'all not hitting the like button. I'm not doing it. Hot tune. What is this guy saying? Oh, he is so funny
Yes,
to
they
me.
didn't know about them. You know, I would like just one normal day. Is that possible? One normal day? Is it possible? Or at least when I'm traveling, could everyone just like chill out while I'm traveling? Because, of course, while I was traveling back to my studio here, I saw the news that you all saw that Melania Trump dropped a bomb on
She
the White
dropped a
House
bomb
and
on you.
reopened us talking about Epstein, which helped. I mean,
She
thank you,
dropped
Melania
a
Trump, I guess,
bomb
because we're
on you.
talking about Epstein again, which we should be. But we're getting multiple reports that the White House knew about this, they didn't know about that. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you, let's just watch a little bit of Melania Trump's weird statement. And, of course, I have some evidence.
Before we
that
do, oh
really
my
doesn't
God, these girls have grown into be beautiful young ladies. Oh my God, look at that beauty. Okay, you gotta get, don't be trying to, Oh, no, let me find another background. Oh, she is beautiful. Let's just do this. Both of them. I'll do that before I do Sasha and Malia. Blessed and all. Aren't they beautiful? Yeah, she still look like, but sometimes she look like Michelle, but she look like Barack and she looks like Michelle. But sometimes they kind of swap out to me. Sasha look like Barack and Malia look like Michelle, but they are beautiful young ladies. May God protect them and guide them. Oh my God. Okay, bye, ladies. I gotta move right on. Let me put old girl back up. I don't want you talking. Let's go. Key. Shout
Line
out to
up
Key.
with what she's saying. Let's just go to this real fast because remember,
Going
this
back to
kind of
him.
all started last year when a book was published saying that Melania Trump was introduced to Donald Trump through Jeffrey Epstein. And Michael Wolff said this.
A new book was published yesterday in the US and UK entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. It's by a British journalist by the name of Andrew Loney. And it's about the pathetic life of Prince Andrew, but it is also about his connection to Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Melania Trump. And in fact, it contains a passage in which Epstein is quoted, and this is from an interview apparently in 2007, where he says that he had sex with Melania a full year before Donald Trump commenced his relationship with Melania.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? And that's why it's very fascinating that Melania Trump, literally out of nowhere, without any warning, we knew that this speech was going to be, like, she was going to give some sort of announcement. We, at the Keith Edwards Show, thought this was going to be about AI. We thought it was going to be another stupid AI announcement. We had absolutely no idea that it was going to involve this.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
That's the thing is like, sorry, we're gonna need to end today. Who was saying anything about this recently? Everyone was talking about this war. So, like, well, look.
About me, are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note.
I know she's lived here a long time, but baby, we need you to assimilate.
Right.
Let's
I
get
thought
that
her
English
accent should have been
You've
better.
been here so long. You still can't
I've
say,
said
I
that
don't know
too.
what she just said.
I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in a detail in my
With
book,
your lies.
Melania.
Girl, you lie.
Person is just like, buy my book. This is literally on the website. You can see here on the government website. You see there, justice.gov, baby. Okay, so it's there and it says, Dear G, how are you? Nice story about Jeffrey Epstein in New York Mag. You look great on the picture. She can't even type. I know you are very busy flying all over the world. How was Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you're back in New York. Have a great time. Love, Melania. I am just saying, let's shrink it down. I don't send a text like that to anyone other than someone I'm friendly with or I want to be friends with. Okay? That is not a text I am saying to someone I do not like. That is not a text I am sending to someone who is a casual acquaintance that I occasionally see out at parties. Okay? That is someone reaching out. Now, maybe they never had a friendship. But then you get all these pictures. Like, what? And you're telling me this is the only time they ever met? I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And remember, at least 16 files disappeared from the DOJ site.
Thank you
Epstein
for the
documents,
floating
including a
hearts.
Trump photo, and also files mentioning Melania Trump. I guess my question is, why did this happen today?
Right.
Is there some story coming out that we're unaware of? Is she getting ahead of something?
Yes.
It's truly baffling to
It's
me.
coming.
It's very entertaining, but it's baffling. I just have no idea why she would do this. Perhaps she's like super in her head, and the stuff that's came out previously really bothered her. No one was like, Melania, no one's talking about this. You don't got to do this. Maybe she doesn't have people in her life to like say to her, hey, you actually don't need to do this because it's going to make it worse. Maybe she doesn't have good advisors. To me, and what even Fox News has been suggesting is that it's actually happening because she's trying to get ahead of the story.
with that war.
What we also know too is that there's two different things being reported. So CNN is saying that Donald Trump knew about this.
Now, one source familiar says President Trump did get a heads up this was coming, but certainly adding momentum to an...
Okay. But then MS Now is reporting that he didn't.
That is the question that we're all asking today. In fact, I just got off a very quick call before we went to air with President Trump, who said he was in the middle of a war meeting and that he couldn't talk for very long and had to go.
Well, we know he wasn't in no meeting.
He had no prior knowledge to the topic that Melania Trump, his wife, was going to be touching upon today in his statement, in her statement.
That's what J.D. Vance is doing.
Before we hung up the phone, he said that she didn't know him.
So here's what I think happened in that scenario. I think this lady got a hold of him immediately, and Donald Trump is losing his mind. He's demented. He quite often will tell the truth when he doesn't have a lie to fall back on. He probably really was surprised. And he's like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. And then the next call from CNN, he wanted to get a better story, which is he realized that it's really not great for him to look like he doesn't know that his wife is giving this speech that blows up the Epstein files yet again. So I think he cleaned up the story and he lied to CNN. So I actually don't think he knew about this at all. And Terry Moran asked this, why now? She's obsessed with herself and oblivious to everything else. It's who she is, but she's got to realize how bad this is politically for her husband. I think that's kind of the point. And I thought David Frum actually had a really good summation here. For a decade, Trump cast a reality distorting power over nearly half the country. That power ceased to operate first over Epstein, then over the Iran war. Hence today's outburst by Trump and Melania, each pulling levers that no longer connect to any mechanism. And someone just said, Maxwell is blackmailing Melania and changed my mind. I don't know about that. But it's very fascinating, isn't it? I imagine something we will know more soon. And I just want to say that this coincides with Iran releasing another. They released one of these. They got more drops than I swear to God. There's like a mixtape now. They released another Lego video, but this time.
No, but she tried to act like she was going to sue Michael Wolff, and Michael Wolff got in front of the lawsuit and sued her, and she's been dodging him ever since. They've been in court. There has been progress. Yeah, and Michael Wolff is demanding depositions. Yeah, she wants it to be moved to Florida, but she lives in Trump Tower. She doesn't want to go through the process, in New York. Yeah, because their track record of winning in New York is not good. They have a better chance in Florida. Yeah, she started it. Yeah, she tried to punk face. She tried to intimidate like her husband. And it's not working. It didn't work with Hunter. And it dang sure didn't work with Michael Wolff because he sued her. He was insulted for her even assuming trying to act like she was going to sue him for $1 billion. What did he know? That, I mean, because pictures have been out there for years and you ain't never tried to sue anybody. You ain't never, So what was so detrimental in what he was saying that you threatened to sue him for $1 billion? Now you saying don't believe the pictures? Yeah, because Emmanuel Macron dropped the picture with you sitting on Epstein's lap with your hand down. Yeah. 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 So you trying to get in front of it. Because, a lot of stuff is leaking. He had a panic attack when we knew, but that there were more than one hostage. Yeah. And he wanted to know who was leaking it. You got to stay woke. One thing is for sure, what we've been talking about a while ago, it's coming to surface now. Let's finish this up.
It was actually focused on Epstein. And here it is. And I'll see you soon.
Hey, orange pig.
Okay, one of them. Hold on.
Oh, boy.
Hold on. I know we like these. Oh, my. Shout out to Keith. Oh, wow. Can I get y'all to hit the like button for me, please? Before we start this, I need the likes up. Double tap the face of your screen. Let's go. Yeah, we was just a little, we was maybe 2 months ahead. Ceasefire with Iran. This picture have y'all seen this picture of these two hanging out? She said she really didn't know her. Did she just say she didn't know Ghislaine? Girl, you know her. I told you earlier, you calling her G. Hit the 3 dots at the top right corner. Y'all ready to get down with it? Cease fire with Iran. Oh, wow.
Hey, orange pig. America first? Oops. Oh boy, that was the slogan you sold. But Bibi's pulling strings and your vote is getting cold. We're not just fighting for Iran, hear this clear. Your people reached out to us, yeah, we got the DMs here. If one nation's gonna stand against the Epstein regime's fear, it's us till the last breath, we've been doing it for years. We're standing here for everyone your system ever wronged. They've known all along, the enemy was always you. The real threat war is
it sound like Eminem.
Song while selling their own citizens and calling it strong. Stealing from your own people, making them bleed, taking tax dollars just to fund your own greed. They waking up to the lies, the illusions of birth. You screamed America first, now you put losers first. Make Israel great again. The government is run by pedophiles. They ordered you to die for Israel. They ordered you to die for Israel. They lied to pedophiles, man, the planet would shake from the level of filth and the crimes in your wake. No wonder Jeff called you the worst, you degenerate snake. You claimed you never set foot. You went 40 plus times. You sick bastard. You cooked. We stepping up to the plate. Epstein regime gotta fall. You fake Christian elite sacrificing the ball. Demon, you talk real big for a man with tiny hands, tiny things, tiny everything. We saw everything, and word got out. The smallness kinda expands. No wonder all those rage tweets, all those desperate rants. Overcompensating bully, always causing a scene. You said you love losers. Well, look at your team. Your government is run by pedophiles. They ordered you to die for Israel. They ordered you to die for Israel. They lied to you.
What y'all think? Shout out to Keith. I think the other one. Thank you, me, Natural in Orleans. What y'all think about that one? Let's get to a debate. Y'all ready to get to a debate? Oh, they got caught. Thank you. One country quietly won this entire... Oh yeah, they slept in the same bed. Ooh, all the dirt coming out. God, dog.
It's really a grim story, Mark, and I don't think that we can separate. It's really a grim story, Mark, and I don't think that we can separate Jared Kushner's role out of this. Netanyahu, back in the 80s, when he used to visit New York before he was a major politician, he was just a diplomat or a businessman. He used to sleep in Jared Kushner's bed. I mean, literally.
I told y'all this a long time
Jared
ago.
would sleep on the couch, and Netanyahu would sleep in his bedroom. And old family friends going way back. And then you got Steve Witkoff, who has been making regular pilgrimages to Moscow without the help of an American translator, without the help, just using Putin's translator, without any advice from the State Department or whatever, who has apparently become very close to Putin, who's one of the major beneficiaries of this account.
They've been doing a kooky gooky.
These two guys were negotiating with Iran, and Iran
compromising their kids and shit.
And what they had worked out, according to the Omanis, who were the
he was compromised.
Right in the middle of this. This was all going on in Oman. According to Omani, what they worked out was a better deal than the JCPOA, a better deal than Obama had.
His dad,
in terms of the United States' interests, no nuclear,
sacrificed
no
his son
nuclear,
to Bibi Netanyahu.
Dialing back their hostility toward Israel, just all kinds of cool stuff. And
his crooked dad.
Apparently, Netanyahu and Kushner were conspiring to go along with pretty much anything Iran was willing to do, so that they could have a deal that would have to go to Iran, so that the council, the leader and all his guys would have to get together in one place to figure out if they were going to accept it. And that's when Netanyahu sent in a missile and took out a city block and killed 50 people, and decapitated the senior leadership, thinking that would cause regime change, which of course it didn't. It actually hardened the regime. And Trump just went along with this, and I'm sure that he went along with it on Kushner's advice. I mean, he's his son-in-law. Trump doesn't trust anybody other than his family. So they finally found a president who was stupid
is
to do what
intelligence.
You cross it out so beautifully, because there are so many parties that individually benefit, Kushner chief among them.
Oh yeah, he's trying to get another $5 billion out of the Middle East, and I mean literally, publicly. At the same time, that, by the way, it wasn't just Israel that wanted to strike; it was also Saudi Arabia. MBS has been lobbying for this for at least a decade, and surprise, surprise.
And MBS wants us to stay there. I mean, I don't think MBS wants this operation wrapped up at all. So the Israelis and the Emiratis, perhaps you could argue, and also the Saudis are kind of all leading that charge. But this is a mess for America, and as you say, we could have had such a great deal if the concern was legitimately to restrain Iranian nuclear ambitions, and yet
I don't know these people.
Evaporated. It appears it was just.
I just saw they used to cuddle, and that's true. Hold on. It's 2 in the morning. I want to get to I want to get here. Hold on. Oh, here it is. Yes, it is.
We should all keep an open mind about what happens next. We should all be grateful for the reality. Nobody thinks this is a big victory.
The Iranian people are arguably worse off than they were before, and it's all based on Bibi Netanyahu's special intelligence, which cost at least 15 American lives, the fracturing of the Trump coalition, probably at least the next 2 elections for Republicans. So, good job.
The Israelis have been slaughtering the people of Lebanon all morning, carpet bombing cities just out of rage.
The first thing that President Trump has to do in order to make sure this lasts is actually restrain the Israelis, take away key components of the military aid that we give them.
We would restrain our ally, who, by the way, just helped us achieve one of the greatest military victories of the modern era. We would restrain them instead of trying to use the threat of continued belligerence from them to extract more punitive terms from the Iranians is silly.
The furore about President Trump's vow to end Iranian civilization was not about a fear he was about to do that or a hope that he would. It was about the foundational idea that the United States is a bulwark against exactly the kind of atrocities he foreshadowed. If the U.S. is capable and willing to eradicate an entire population,
47 really didn't like his son-in-law at all.
right and wrong. But Donald Trump doesn't seem
But
interested in that.
47 is afraid of his son-in-law
Muscular
father.
superpower, which can throw its weight around to get what it wants. It's clear. Many people support him about that. So amid the shrieking noise and spin about the 11th hour ceasefire agreement, it's worth asking a simple question. Did the US get what it wants? Well, the Strait of Hormuz is open, just as it was before the war
He
began.
depends on his son-in-law.
Nobody is in any doubt about the fact that Iran controls it. In fact, some versions of the text refer to guaranteeing Iran's dominance. The Iranian regime is wounded and weakened, but there's no doubt that it's the same regime. Several branches have been hacked off, but the trunk and the roots remain. Many of Iran's military targets have been destroyed, but Iran
Elaine Maxwell put that union together.
and its proxies across the region. The Iranian plan, which Trump now calls a workable basis for talks, includes reparations for the damage caused, the lifting of all sanctions, and the release of Iranian funds seized by the United States. It's a multi-billion-dollar windfall. What does he think they'll do with it? And on the question of cost, the US has now spent more than $30 billion on the war so far. 15 US soldiers are dead. Thousands of Iranian civilians are dead. Trump's approval ratings are a record low, and his base is at war with itself, all as the US prepares for elections, which could handicap or even end his presidency. We should all keep an open mind about what happens next. We should all be grateful for a pause in this war. But this is what a historic victory looks like. Well, Mr. President, I wouldn't be so sure to claim that. First tonight, I'm joined by Megyn Kelly, host of the Megyn Kelly Show. Megyn, what's been the point of it all?
You got to say, the deal sounds very much like surrender on our part, which I'm in favor of. I mean, great. This needed to end. Ugly or any other way. It needed to end. It was folly to begin with. It was folly throughout. It remains folly. I'm sure Mark Levin
Now he
and
need
Graham
him.
were feeling really, really good until the end part where we had to end it. And now they're very, very angry. Mark Levin was practically in tears on Fox News last night because we didn't see it through, I guess, with the nuclear bomb that we were going to drop on Iran. We didn't go in commando style and seize all the uranium. We allowed, according to the Israelis, according to the Iranians, that is, the war against Hezbollah to stop, which he wants seen through. He would love to see Lebanon completely bombed and to be made to look like Gaza. And there
He
was
over
really no
there
point to going forward other
with
than more death and
JD
destruction.
Vance.
The Iranians proved to be tough MFers, and they realized that they had something far more powerful than a nuclear bomb. They had control over the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump was warned prior to getting involved in this conflict by the
He's
chairman of the
scared as
Joint
hell.
Chiefs that they were not likely to collapse easily and that they probably would maintain control of the strait and could cause a global economic panic. And he didn't listen. What he did with the Dan Kane warnings was rush to Truth Social, Trump did, saying, all Dan Kane knows how to do is win. And if I tell him to invade, he's going to win. Well, that's not really what happened. There was never any question we could decimate their Navy or their Air Force. Of course, no one would ever second guess the power of the U.S. military. It's pristine, and it's impeccable, and it's truly awe-striking. But these battles in the Middle East have been fought now for 20-plus years, and we continue to learn the same lesson over and over. It is not their overwhelming air power or their incredible navies that keep us mired in quagmires. It's their insurgencies. It's this disparate way of fighting that we don't know how to handle. We can't tamp down with the amazing power of an aircraft carrier, which, by the way, we had trouble getting anywhere close there after they figured out how to attack it. And you know, we've already learned this. Trump watched us learn it. And so what led Trump, at 79 years old, to sit in there in that situation room when Bibi Netanyahu was seated as an equal?
Yeah.
Trump didn't even sit at the head of the table. Trump sat at the side of the table, and Bibi was across from him as an equal in the American Situation Room. What led him to sit there and buy what that guy was selling, hook, line, and sinker, when every other president was able to see through that liar? What was it? Because he was told the next day by our own top advisors, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to the Secretary of State to the Vice President, that these are lies and that these objectives are not going to be attainable. Don't believe him. We might be able to wipe out the Ayatollah, not regime change, Ayatollah. And we might be able to decimate some portion of their missiles and their military. Okay, that's true. But the goals as stated by Trump when we actually did pull the trigger were all over the board. And to this moment, he's pushing the BS claim that we affected regime change. No, we didn't. It's the same regime, just different players. There isn't somebody more moderate in there at all. We have no reason to believe that. In fact, it looks like the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is in control now, which is far more radical, and the fatwa that had allegedly been issued by the Ayatollah on developing nukes is gone. Iran is more powerful economically. It controls the strait, and now is demanding the lifting of all sanctions against it. And what Trump did with that 10-point plan was go from Monday saying, no, not good, to Tuesday saying, very workable, we can do it, as a means of saving face to bail off of his insane threats about annihilating an entire civilization. So I don't know how we got here, Piers. I'd like to know just as much as anybody else, but all I can think in my head, based on what I've read in the paper, is we got here thanks to Bibi Netanyahu, Lindsey Graham, and Mark Levin. And ultimately President Trump. That's not to take agency away from the president, who was bamboozled. I don't know why. He was too weak to say no. He was too gullible to see through the lies.
He got paid off. He don't do nothing for free.
Insane conflict that caused, forget, you know, the blood and treasure we spilled. As you point out, at least 15 service personnel. I believe we're being lied to about the total number of dead and wounded. But we don't know what the accurate death toll in Iran is. How many civilians in Iran died? How many died in our allies around Iran who now don't trust us? What penalty do we pay other than the cost and the 15 lives that we expended, which count for a lot? But we didn't take the brunt of Iran's response. Our allies did, with whom we did not consult prior to starting this war, who are very, very angry, many of them, about what was done to them. What's going to happen to the trillions of dollars Trump was touting that they donated? They were offered to donate to the United States just to be nice guys and have great relations. You think they're going to spend that on us now? They're going to spend it on themselves. They're going to rebuild massive portions of their own countries thanks to the bombing campaign unleashed against them, because they were within reach, by Iran, who couldn't reach us. So we've upset our allies. We've pleased Israel, although now they're upset there's a ceasefire. We've upset the American base. The Trump coalition that got him elected is completely fractured and in smithereens. And he doesn't care, Piers, because he doesn't care about the Republican Party. He cares about himself. If Trump had to get reelected, he probably would have handled this a little differently. But he doesn't care that the Republicans
she's a
are going to lose
Zionist.
the
She's
midterms.
a
I think he
Jewish.
thought that was a foregone conclusion. And I don't think he cares that J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio wins the presidency.
Mossad
I think there's a piece of
has
Trump
the
that would like to
goods
say,
on the White House.
I'm
Yep.
the only one who could do it. The Republican Party's nothing without me. And the rest of us are going to be around to pick up the pieces.
I mean, a fascinating assessment. I mean, I remember early on you picking up, as I did, on what Rubio had said about the reason why America went in, and then the immediate backtracking the next day when they panicked and realized they'd let the cat out of the bag. This was clearly a Netanyahu-driven operation. He had persuaded Trump to come with it. Then we had Antony Blinken saying, well, actually, he tried to do this when Biden was president, when Obama was president, and both times those two guys said, no, we're not going to come with you, and then he didn't attack. So he clearly got third time lucky with an American president who would come with him. But I remember early on, you and I and others who dared to suggest that we take Rubio at his word, that actually this was all at Israel's behest. Once again, we were anti-Semitic if we said that. This was a hatred of Israel that was driving our...
Israel's not a country, it's politics.
Deep dive in the New York Times, fascinating. I mean, what's most fascinating?
It's a political
They've
movement.
got somebody on the inside telling them exactly what happened in that situation, which is fascinating. But when you see it all laid out, it's crystal clear. That's exactly what happened. That Netanyahu got in that situation with the White House, like you say, unprecedented. The way he had the guy from Mossad on the big screen, he had him there with his... It was like two equal partners. And he persuaded Trump in that room to go in. And I think Trump will regret this. Well, you're right, he may not care. He may want to just say, moving on, it's a big victory, blah, blah, blah. But the reality
But it's not.
Nobody thinks this is a big victory for the United States.
No, he's going to go down as a loser.
But actually, a bit of a humiliation. Not militarily, because America can beat anyone when it comes to a military punch-up. But what Iran has now discovered is that as long as it can control the Strait of Hormuz, it can control the global economy. And therefore, it can, if it has enough patience, play out the long game with the President of the United States, who will have to cave. Because ultimately, it's going to cause him so much economic and political damage, he has no choice. That's what's happened here. Trump hasn't brought this to an end out of some great desire for peace. He's brought it to an end because he could see that the economic and political damage was getting worse by the day.
Right.
Because the Iranians wouldn't fold. They realized
And
what the
Iranians
pressure
was
point
whooping
was and
ass.
that it was working. And they watched Trump's poll numbers spiral downward in every piece of the coalition that elected him. And they realized that their ability to just withstand the beating was working, was getting them to where they needed to get. Because, look, there was never majority support behind this war. There wasn't some groundswell of support behind this war, right? There was a Republican-based support for the war, but the Democrats didn't support it, the independents didn't support it, and very soon into the war, the Republicans stopped supporting it too. MAGA supported it. As MAGA dwindled, by the way, it was already only about 15% of the population. It's getting smaller by the day. President Trump 3 weeks ago declared that to be MAGA, you have to support Mark Levin, where upon which multiple formerly diehard MAGA people who were dedicated to it said, I'm out. If those are the stakes, I'm out. Why would I support that warmonger who's frothing at the mouth over the idea of lives being cost in Iran, civilian or otherwise? He's a disgusting fool who's well past his prime. We should not be listening to him, but President Trump is obsessed. On Sunday, he tweeted out that the Supreme Court should be listening to Mark Levin.
I know.
All 9 justices, which would double his viewership.
Yeah, I don't get it because you've been loudly calling out the folly of this war from day one. I have, Tucker has, Candace Owens has, Joe Rogan has, Theo Von has. I mean, there is a massive cross-section of people in our world, which is what I call the unfiltered world, where you're not controlled perhaps by other forces that own networks and so on that sort of send out a directive about what you shouldn't be saying. So in the free spirit world, where you can say what you really think, pretty much everyone has been agreed. This looked like madness. There's a very interesting piece, I think, with Stephen Chung pops up in the New York Times piece, who emerges as one of the smarter characters, actually, that Trump has around him. He said, well, how does all this sit with we're not going to go and wage war in the Middle East, which is what we campaigned on? How does this sit with America first? This will have an obvious effect on prices,
Saying
on
my device is
inflation,
hot.
on gas pump costs and so on. How does any of this work? And there's no real answer, according to New York Times, in the room to that. He just raises this spectre of, this is the elephant in the room. This is exactly the opposite to what we campaigned on. So I think politically it's been disastrous for Donald Trump. And I just don't understand, other than he got bamboozled by Netanyahu, why he took such a gigantic risk.
I don't either. And it wasn't just Steve Chung, who is a master messenger and saw the storm coming. It was J.D. Vance, who, according to the New York Times, was in there specifically saying it's going to fracture the coalition. And boy, is that an understatement. Trump is now underwater, and he wasn't before, with men. Don't forget the gender divide that happened in 2024. The women went overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris, and men went for Trump. Now he's underwater with men, including with young men and young people. The young person coalition that Charlie Kirk delivered to the president is gone. They've abandoned Donald Trump. The working class, Piers. The latest poll that just came out showed he's 2 points underwater with the working class. That's been Trump's base from the beginning. They were the unshakable foundation that got him elected over and over. And they're gone. They're very angry. They care about what's happening in Iowa, not Iran. They don't want days and days and more weeks of debates over the Strait of Hormuz. No one cares. They care about their own lives. They care about the fact that they can't pay for health care. They can't buy a home. Young people cannot get a home even though two people are working nonstop, round the clock with no vacations in this country. President Trump promised he would do something about that. Now we see the leaked soundbite saying, can't really worry about anything at the federal government level other than military. Everything else has to be done at the state. Then they pulled that down off the internet because they didn't mean to share it. He said it at an Easter breakfast that was supposed to be private. Well, it's going to be the campaign ad for every Democrat in these midterms. So he's lost working class, he's lost men, he's lost young people, he lost Hispanics by some 50 points. Every single game with Hispanics is now gone. It's eradicated. Blacks, he had made some inroads with black voters. Done. You name it, they're all gone. The question is now not who has he lost, the question is who remains. And sure, it's the die-hard MAGA, Trump can do no wrong, he's some savant, whatever he says is right. That's great, he'll always have those people. You can't win national elections with some fraction of 15% of the electorate. The vast majority of Republicans would call themselves America First, but not necessarily MAGA. Certainly
Hey,
not Donald
Larry.
Trump is now defining that term. And he misunderstood his own base twice critically in the past year, and both times are really undermining him right now. One was Epstein, thinking he could just say, Epstein, who still cares about that? No one's talking about Epstein. He misread the base, which very much cared about Epstein, not so much because they care about Jeffrey Epstein, but they care about elites being able to get away with murder and protect each other when the common man cannot. And the unwillingness to turn over stones that the base had been demanding be turned over so we could figure out, is there some sort of child predator
He
sex
praised
ring?
Allah.
Is there an elite cabal working to hurt people
Who?
that gets protected because they have money and we don't? And Trump could not get rid of that with a shrug of a shoulder. And ultimately
Papa.
it resulted in legislation he had to pretend he favored.
Who is
that was
who?
crammed down his
I
throat.
think
he
he.
had to sign, so it
Let
had
me
enough
show.
loopholes in it to drive a Mack
I
truck
think
through.
he
But in any event, it was a
Bala
step
or
forward on that, so
Bala,
he didn't
whatever
want
that
it, but he
is.
was forced to. And this is the
That
second.
animal.
And this is a
That
much bigger and more serious betrayal of what he ran on and of what was important to his base, which does include the America Firsters and not just MAGA. Or as Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying, at this point, she's not America First, she's America only. And I think a lot of us are getting to that point. We are sick of being the policemen of the world, of being dragged into conflict after conflict by Bibi Netanyahu. By
Yeah,
Israel,
he was trying to
who
be
is supposed
funny.
to be our special ally, but what they're special
He was
at
trying to
is
be
getting us
funny.
to fight their wars and get involved in their conflicts that they can't fight by themselves. That's what Dan Kane said to President Trump the day
That's
after
why a lot of people
Netanyahu
were
came for the seventh
insulted.
time and was sitting in that situation room like an equal.
Because he was talking to the
that
Muslims.
they're great on intelligence. That's supposed to be the area in which they're so special to us. They share their intelligence. They're great on it. But that intelligence doesn't always seem to pan out. Like, the regime will fall easily. The Iranian people will revolt in the streets and take over. With how? They don't have guns. Bombs would be raining down. Wasn't this thought through? There isn't regime change. The Iranian people are arguably worse off than they were before, and it's all based on Bibi Netanyahu's special intelligence, which caused at least 15 American lives, the fracturing of the Trump coalition, probably at least the next 2 elections for Republicans, not to mention the amount of lives and blood and treasure that was spilled in the Middle East. So great job.
Megan, got to leave it there. Wish I could talk to you for another hour because it's blistering stuff, but you're so right. As you said at the start, one word, folly. What a folly it's been, and I think the repercussions are going to be enormous.
All these people helped him
Good to see you.
win. Now they're disgusted.
Just about everybody on all sides of the Iran war debate is taking a victory lap.
Both
today.
times.
Everybody was right, it seems, and everybody has won. The notable exception is Israel. As we speak, is continuing to pound Lebanon. Israeli officials say the ceasefire doesn't include Lebanon, and the war must go on, a direct contradiction of the Pakistani and US position. Today, the leader of Israel's opposition said that if this ceasefire is as good as it gets, it will amount to, quote, one of the most severe strategic failures in Israeli history. None of this bodes well for a permanent end to the war, unless, that is, President Trump is about to break with Bibi Netanyahu. Somewhat lost in the excitement of Trump's vow to end Iranian civilization yesterday, New York Times released an extraordinary report on how Netanyahu made the case for war in the White House. The Israeli premier, it says, planned a simple mission with swift regime change, but it had to be now. Well, General Kane, the top US military official, reportedly told the president, "Sir, this is, in my experience, standard operating procedure for the Israelis. They oversell, and their plans are not always well developed. They know they need us, and that's why they're hard selling." All of this appears to echo the position of Vice President J.D. Vance and the former Secretary of State Antony Blinken. For several weeks now, we've been told it's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory.
Anytime you agree with their political views,
perhaps the only people,
because it's not about religion, it's political.
for those who said the evidence suggested otherwise.
You being
To debate all of this, I'm
anti-Semitic.
joined by Joe Kent, the former director of the US National Counterterrorism Center, and Will Chamberlain, the senior counsel at the Article 3 project. Well, welcome to both of you. Joe Kent, a lot of what you said when you resigned appears to have been pretty much confirmed by that New York Times report, which is extremely detailed and paints a picture of Netanyahu in the White House, in the Situation Room, with the head of Mossad appearing on a screen next to him, in which he laid out a 4-point plan for why this would work: decapitating the regime, people would rise up, they would be too powerless to shut the Strait of Hormuz, and so on, most of which has not happened. What do you feel about the fact there's now this ceasefire, albeit it seems quite a perilous one? Is it a recognition, do you think, by President Trump that he's got to get out of this?
I think it's a good thing that President Trump took the opportunity to enact a ceasefire and to get both sides to the negotiating table. I think what's key, though, is that President Trump has to realize, in order to accomplish our strategic goal, which is ending this conflict, reopening the Straits of Hormuz, and maintaining the alliances that we have in the Gulf, he has got to restrain the Israelis. The Israelis have a different strategic goal than we do. They want to take down the entire regime. They don't care how long it takes. They don't care how much
that's
we
when
have
he was
to
sending
commit
that
in terms of blood and
message
treasure. So the Israelis and us have parted ways in terms of
to
strategic
Iran.
objectives. We have to be honest with
They're
ourselves.
Muslim.
It sounds like, considering the fact that
on Easter. That's why they were saying that message on Easter was disrespectful.
That is recognized now by this administration. So the first thing that President Trump has to do in order to make sure this lasts is actually restrain the
After
Israelis,
cussing them
take
out
away
and calling
the
them
components
bastards.
of the military aid that we give them, so that they lack the
That was his
capability to go on
sarcasm.
the offense and to spoil this ceasefire.
Will Chamberlain, your response to that?
I think that's a completely incoherent idea. Not merely wrong, but just incoherent. First off, it presupposes we have the ability to take away their offensive capabilities. Newsflash, they already have them. We can't just seize them. Are we going to invade Israel and take their planes? We can't. They have the F-35. They have these capabilities. Remember, they launched the 12-day war on their own. So,
but on that point, Will, the Americans could withdraw their funding.
Sure, but it
the
wouldn't-
billions
it
of
wouldn't-
dollars, the billions of dollars that go to the Israelis.
Yeah, but it's personal because
which
they gave
use
him
to
extra
fund
money
their
on the
own
side on the coup.
military, that could just be withdrawn. So America isn't powerless. It can exercise that power.
Right, but the offensive capabilities they would need to strike.
He's
Iran,
not
they already
America
have. They're the
first.
second biggest air force in the world today. Even if we said we're not going to give you $4 billion a year going forward, that wouldn't stop anything. And then the second point is that this is an unbelievably silly approach to foreign policy because we haven't hammered out final terms with the Iranians yet. We're still in the middle of negotiations. The idea that we would restrain our ally, who, by the way,
With too
just
many of
helped
them
us
making
achieve
too
one
many
of the greatest
deals.
military victories of the modern era, we would restrain them instead of trying to use the threat of continued belligerence from them to extract more punitive terms from the Iranians is silly. It's just completely antithetical to how things should work. And the idea that we need to be worried about our Gulf neighbors who would be upset if we didn't restrain the Israelis is also absurd because our Gulf neighbors are on our side. And this war has not only solidified our position
He didn't care nothing about
it
that.
solidified
Who
it
on our side, our
diplomatically
allies. They don't
because
care
all
nothing
those
about that.
countries are furious with the Iranians and are on our side and want to strengthen cooperation with both us and Israel.
But what is clear from that New York Times report, it seems to be incredibly well sourced. So somebody's been talking who was in that room. What is clear from that is that the Israelis, maybe this was an honest mistake on their part, a misreading.
They got too much power, too much
but they
control.
certainly appeared to be of the belief, if you took out the Ayatollah and some of the top people with him, that this would then lead to an uprising by the people, and that amid all this chaos, there would be no ability to close the Strait of Hormuz. Well, none of that has really happened. Yes, they got rid of the Ayatollah, but he's just been replaced by other similarly minded people. And then there's been no uprising by the Iranian people whatsoever. And of course, the Strait of Hormuz has been held in a kind of stranglehold by the Iranians in a very powerful way, it has to be conceded, which has caused enormous damage to the global economy. They've basically controlled that strait now for 4 or 5 weeks, and it's caused hell. And none of that appears to have been predicted by the Israelis in their sales pitch to Trump to join them on this war.
Well, so I think you're overstating a number of things there. First off, I mean, the Iranian Navy is gone, right? They're controlling the strait by threatening to shoot at people, but they don't have any naval forces meaningfully in the area.
He over here laughing.
Remember, they were thinking that card, which is their only trump card, that's the maximum.
But it's a very powerful card, and it's one that the Israelis did not think they had the power.
Right,
according to the
Israelis might have made a slight misjudgment on that effect. It's war. I think the Iranians made a much bigger misjudgment overall when you talk about the complete destruction of their military capability.
Right, but if you take away the Strait of Hormuz issue, then you've got overwhelming military dominance by the Americans and Israelis. Yes, the Iranians would have still attacked their neighboring Gulf states, but that would be a military conflict part of it. The fact that the Strait of Hormuz has been shut pretty much for 5 weeks, that has been an asymmetric war, which, with the best will in the world, has been wielded very successfully by the Iranians. For whatever
I don't
reason.
think so at all. I think that's actually been wielded quite poorly.
Let
me finish my point, Joe, and then you can speak. 2 weeks ago, the Iranians were saying, we're not going to give up the Strait of Hormuz unless we get a permanent peace deal, a permanent commitment to non-aggression and reparations. What are they trading it for as of yesterday? 2-week ceasefire, no promises. They can't even extract a commitment from the Israelis to stop
They
fighting
10
Hezbollah.
points
That's
worth.
how badly they're beaten.
Okay.
Baby,
So he called you silly and incompetent, I think, earlier, so this is your chance to respond.
So prior to this war, the Straits of Hormuz were transited by anybody trading oil for free. Post-war, the Iranians are going to be able to extract a fee. That's one of their negotiating chips they have now.
No, they won't.
Prior to the war, the Ayatollah that we killed was actually at the negotiating table with us. The reason why none of this was taken into account is because the Israelis didn't really care about what would happen to the Straits of Hormuz. They didn't care what would happen to our Gulf allies. Our Gulf allies right now still technically are with us, but the fact that we were unable to provide them with security guarantees lowers our status in the region, potentially could threaten the petrodollar in the region. And so right now we're in a weaker position because we listened to a foreign government that had a different strategic goal in mind than we did. So it's great that we got the ceasefire. We need to maintain that ceasefire, and we have to actually withhold things from the Israelis, which we can do. The Israelis do have a modern air force, but they rely on us for a lot of the logistics, the refueling, in order to be able to reach into Iran. So we very much are in the driver's seat of what we
Well, that's not true, Joe. That's just obviously false because we didn't help them with
refueling. No, it's 100% true. They can't
that's
reach
false.
they cannot reach into Israel. I've actually been in the military, man. I've been part of these operations.
Then explain how they did the
reach-
12-day war without refueling. Right? If we weren't participating in the offensive operations of the 12-day war, and yet they struck the hell out of Iran.
we helped them out a good deal with logistics. They can't sustain operations without us. They wouldn't be able to continue to sustain operations all the way into Iran with conventional military forces in any meaningful way.
They need
Our
us.
support. We have to pull that back. We also have to pull back their ability.
They would have never
go on
had to go
offense
through us
outside
if
of
they
their
didn't need
borders
us. What are you
because
talking
it's going
about,
to interfere
dumb guy?
with the peace that we're trying to achieve. Right now, we're paying for their defense, we're paying for the offense, and also in terms of our status in the region and our ability to keep commerce and oil flow going out of the Straits of Hormuz and the Middle East, all of that is being negatively affected by us listening to a foreign government. So we have to put Israel back in the junior partner role if we're going to accomplish our
Junior partner.
Persuade Pete Hegseth of any of this.
Hi, Roderick.
I tried. So that, therefore,
He didn't agree with you. He has better intelligence than you. You weren't privy to any of this stuff. Like, you just don't know. That's why you're now on the outside doing podcasts instead of inside the administration trying to
He left.
You don't know.
Well,
You
that's
didn't
the
persuade him.
from the inside. Like, look, man, my letter of resignation has been out there. What's important right now is that we support President Trump in getting this peace deal and making sure it actually sticks. The problem is, as confirmed by the New York Times, that was well sourced from within the West Wing.
No, it wasn't.
The Israelis were in the driver's
That's why I'm not showing him, y'all. I can't do it that intentional.
With the New York Times.
Well, if you say if you say it wasn't well sourced, well, which part are you contesting?
Oh, no, it was well sourced. You guys are just mischaracterizing how much influence Israel had based on what was written in that article.
What?
Which was Israel gave a
Did
presentation.
you read it?
Yeah, I read it completely. And then after the Israelis were offline, right, then you had the meeting between the U.S. principals, in which John Ratcliffe and others were talking about, the Israelis are overselling their ability to achieve regime change. That's probably not going to happen. But they said, on what we've thought for a while is when it comes to missiles and when it comes to their ballistic shield and when it comes to their Navy, we have the capability to do that, and we should do that.
That ain't what Trump said. He said they was very talented.
We didn't get regime change.
They were impressive.
Did not include regime
They was very impressive. They was spanking ass up in.
Trump said regime change was an objective of the war. Fact check me on that after. He never did.
You don't think Donald Trump ever mentioned regime change?
I didn't say that. I said it wasn't a military objective
Donald
of the war.
Trump
He
is
said it
still
would be nice to
claiming
have,
today
but it's not
that
the
he
goal
is
of the war.
affected. He's claiming today he's affected regime change. What are you talking about?
He's affected it. That's because he's basically saying we killed all the senior leadership, which we did, by the way, in an unprecedented fashion.
So who's running the country?
But that doesn't mean it was an original military objective of the war. Fact check me on this, man. Go look at his original.
Who's running it? Who's sending them badass missiles?
Trump changed his goalposts every 10 seconds. That's been part of
this has been remarkably consistent from Hegseth, Rubio on down.
He's not being consistent.
Did they say an official objective of Operation regime change?
Why did America launch a preemptive strike against Iran? Well,
to essentially prevent them from building up a further ballistic missile
capability
as a shields behind which they would be able to develop their nuclear weapons program.
That was not the reason given by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Go look it up, man. He said it over and over and over again.
On camera, he said when he was first asked the reason the United States launched a preemptive strike against Iran was because another country, brackets Israel, had indicated they were going to attack Iran, and therefore the Americans knew there would be attacks against some of their interests in the Middle East, so they got in first. Marco Rubio's
that was the reason for the timing, not the reason for the strike. The strategic reason for the strike, which Rubio explained in that very same press conference. I remember the exact one you're talking about. It's like a gaggle. I think he's in Congress after having a meeting with people. This is very early in the war. He says the reason for the strike is to prevent them from developing their ballistic missile shield further. The reason for the timing, like why today, why February 28th, was the fact that they had this intelligence about the meeting of Ayatollah Khamenei and everybody else, and that Israel was going to go ahead with that under any circumstances. So we should do it now. But I mean, go back and look at that. I know exactly what press conference you're talking about, and I don't think your memory, you are remembering one piece of it, but you're not remembering
It's a pretty
the whole.
significant piece when the Secretary of State of the United States, on record, says that the reason for the preemptive strike by the United States was because Israel was attacking Iran. And then we hear from Antony Blinken, one of his predecessors, that Netanyahu had tried to sell this to both Biden and Obama, and when they both rejected the opportunity to join in attacking Iran, guess what? Israel didn't attack.
This is not new.
So it looks like he got third time lucky with Trump, who went along with it. But had Trump said no, I don't think Israel would have attacked.
Well, but then why did they strike in the 12-day war? They did that
Well, let's talk about the 12-day war. Let me bring Joe back in. The 12-day war is fascinating because I distinctly remember, and I'm sure Will remember it differently to me, but I remember Donald Trump at the end of the 12-day war saying that this had put back any aspirations by the Iranians to build a nuclear weapon decades, that we had obliterated their nuclear capabilities. It was done, gone. And here we are, 9 months later, having to launch a full-fledged war in Iran because the threat remains apparently not just the same, but so imminent that America had to act immediately.
That's what he said.
Make sense of that for me, Joe.
That's what he said.
They've always wanted this regime change war, and so they continually use their influence through official channels and then also through their echo chamber in the media to move the red line. They did this with the enrichment issue. President Trump initially said, our policy is no nuclear weapons for Iran. The Iranian Supreme Leader agreed. There was a lot of space there for negotiations. There was negotiations that were taking place for several months. Then the pro-Israel lobby basically came in and convinced President Trump that the new red line was zero enrichment. 12-day war happens, Operation Midnight Hammer happens. We take away the ability for them to enrich. The Iranians withhold their proxies. They don't retaliate.
He all up in that diaper, ain't he?
Right back to the negotiating table.
Naturally, no.
And then we're hearing basically what Will just said. Oh, now we have to go in and attack Iran.
Get out that
this
diaper.
Ballistic missile capability. So the red line
It's
moves
toxic.
again every time Israel needs a new justification for the war, and they get the outcome that they want by using their pressure network and their media echo chamber and their official engagements with the U.S. government. They were still worried that we were going to get a deal with the Iranians, and so therefore they went ahead and said, hey, we're going to preemptively go into Iran and attack, and knowing that this attack would be against the regime. Iran's reaction to an attack directly against the regime would be to enact their contingency plan, which would be targeting our bases in the region. So the only actual imminent threat that Iran posed was the attack threat by the Israelis against Iran. There was no imminent Iranian threat attack against us.
No, I don't think there was for a moment. Will Chamberlain, I mean, as we sit here today debating this, the regime remains in place. Trump wants to argue it's different people, therefore it's a new regime. But it's the same people, it's the same regime. It's just the faces of...
Minus the 100 senior leaders who are all dead.
So a few of the leaders...
Okay, I'm going to pause, y'all. I need for y'all to get the likes up. 481 people in here listening in with y'all good ear. But the likes don't reflect it. Can you hit the 3 dots at the top right corner for me, please? So that we can get the likes to up. The 3 dots at the top right corner. I have a headache listening to him talk about 47 ass. You want me to move on? I did, baby girl. Thank you, Roderick. Let me see. Ouch. Ooh, this elbow. Ooh. I need to put them elbow pads on. While I'm looking for what's next. Oh, U.S. troops are reportedly smoking weed. Ooh, to fail the test. Lord. Yeah, but they said minor felony test. Unless they didn't add that. Y'all look at her. Them babies trying to smoke it up to get put out. Can y'all believe that? Bless their heart, Lord. Bless their heart. Oh. Y'all hit the like button.
Epstein's Island. Liar! Say I don't worship God. Say I'm not a pedophile. I'm not a pedophile. Liar! Say I wasn't on Epstein's Island. I wasn't on Epstein's Island. Liar! Say I don't worship Baal. I don't worship Baal. Liar! Say I'm a son of a bitch. Say it! I'm son of a bitch. Say I'm not a pedophile. I'm not a pedophile. Liar! Say I wasn't on Epstein's Island. I wasn't on Epstein's Island.
I wasn't on Epstein.
Liar! Say I don't worship Baal. I don't worship Baal. Liar! Say I'm a son of a bitch. Say it! I'm son of a bitch.
Y'all, that should have got me more than 2 likes. Come on, y'all. Woo, what's my next one? Y'all, come on. Let's get the likes up. Get the likes up.
The United States of America, the so-called leader of the free world, just got locked out of Europe's airspace. France said no, Italy said no, Spain said no, Switzerland said no. In the span of 48 hours, 4 major Western nations looked at the United States.
Oh. Wow. Resurface clips of Melania. Y'all look. Victoria Fashion Show. Is that Tyra? Yep. Jeffrey Epstein. I thought you didn't like black women.
This
This is Congresswoman Lori Trahan, and this is her Israel Defense Forces baseball cap, and this is her lanyard from the American Israel Education Foundation, the nonprofit arm of AIPAC. This is an Israeli Iron Dome battery, paid for by the U.S., thanks to Congresswoman Lori Trahan. The Congresswoman is on her free trip to Israel, fully paid for by AIPAC. Again, she visited Israel in 2023, this time sponsored by another pro-Israel lobby, and met with infamous war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. On April 20th, 2024, she voted to send $26.4 billion in military aid to Israel. Bombs. To do this. Did the pro-Israel lobby pay her to support genocide? Read the full story on sunlighthub.org. This is Congress.
This is exactly why the Prophet Muhammad
captured ISIS Libya commander turned out to be Benjamin Ephraim, an Israeli national operating in one of the Mossad special units.
This is not a conspiracy theory. I repeat, this is not a conspiracy theory. Watch this until the end. You've got the entities, let's call them demonic entities for want of a word. They're operating just outside of this visible light reality that we experience. They use the bloodline families as their vehicle to manipulate this reality. They take over their mental, what passes for their emotional processes, their physical processes.
Trump is accused of stealing $3 billion from the American people. I believe that. Y'all believe that?
This is the first year I'm not.
Yeah.
Hey.
A new book was published yesterday in the US and UK entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. It's by a British journalist by the name of Andrew Loney. And it's
Since the book says Epstein upped Melania before setting her up with Trump.
But it is also about his connection to Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Melania Trump. And in fact, it contains a passage in which Epstein is quoted, and this is from an interview apparently in 2007, where he says that he had sex with Melania a full year before Donald Trump commenced his relationship with Melania. A new book was published yesterday in the US and UK entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. It's by a British journalist by the name of Andrew Loney. And it's about the pathetic life of Prince Andrew, but it is also about his connection to Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Melania Trump. And in fact, it contains a passage in which Epstein is quoted.
If you frequently need to go to the bathroom late at night, we recommend eating 2 pieces daily. If you need to visit the bathroom multiple times.
Right now, he had sex with Melania a full year before Donald Trump commenced his relationship with Melania. A new book was published yesterday.
Yep.
Melania Trump.
Israel passes the mandatory death, 11,000 Palestinians. That is not the same guy. Absolutely not.
Never saw the files, man, the planet would shake from the level of filth and the crimes in your wake. No wonder Jeff called you the worst degenerate snake. You claimed you never set foot. You went 40 plus. You sick bastard. You cooked. You stepping up to the plate. Epstein regime gotta fall. You fake Christian elite sacrificing the ball. You thought real big for a man with tiny hands. Tiny hands, tiny things. and tiny everything. We saw everything. Word got out, the smallness kinda expands. No wonder all those rage tweets, all those desperate rants. Overcompensating bully, always causing the scene. You said you love losers. Well, look at your team.
And this one might be the hottest.
Government is run by.
So far, this might be the hottest one.
The one we saw the other day.
For Israel. They wanted you to die for Israel. They lied to you. Hey, orange pig. If the public ever saw the files, man, the planet would shake from the level.
I don't understand.
Claim that Israel is secretly
put an ice cube on the.
He up
Is it
next.
just me, or does it feel like
Control begins in stillness, then movement.
We gonna have to get off into that in a minute, y'all.
You observe before you act. Position is power. Do not forget.
Do y'all believe?
You are not among them. You stand above.
The full truth is on my Facebook, linked below.
Jews never...
Three reasons to.
At exactly midnight Beijing time, while the world was sleeping, China did something that every American president for the past 30 years declared would never be allowed to happen. 500 DF-41 intercontinental ballistic missiles transferred to Iran. Done. No warning, no ultimatum, no last-minute diplomatic intervention, just 500 of the most lethal weapons ever manufactured by human civilization quietly, methodically, and completely relocated from Chinese strategic storage into hardened Iranian launch facilities before a single Western intelligence analyst had confident enough reporting to trigger an interdiction response. Here is what 500 DF-41S actually means in cold operational language. Each missile carries 12 independently targetable nuclear warheads. Each warhead can be directed to a separate city, a separate military base, a separate command center. 500 missiles means 6,000 nuclear warheads simultaneously targetable across Israel, across every American base in the Middle East, across every European capital, and against targets inside the continental United States itself. All of it airborne within 10 minutes of a launch order.
Thank
all
you.
Of it reaching Israeli territory in under 15 minutes. All of it completely immune to every intercept system currently deployed in the theater. Arrow 3 cannot stop it. THAAD cannot stop it. The Patriot batteries ringing every American base in the region were not designed for this class of threat. Nothing that Israel or the United States has spent the last 50 years and several $1 trillion building was built to stop 6,000 DF-41 warheads arriving simultaneously from 500 dispersed road mobile launchers across 1.6 million square kilometers of Iranian territory. Trump's statement came at 6 a.m., 24 hours. Iran returns the missiles or the United States considers all options. In Beijing, that statement was received as confirmation that the operation had succeeded exactly as planned. In Tehran, it was received as proof that the transfer had already achieved its core strategic objective. In Tel Aviv, it arrived as the worst morning in Israeli history. The recognition that America's answer to an existential threat pointed at Israeli cities is a deadline, not a deployment. At exactly midnight Beijing time, while the world was sleeping, China did something that every American president for the past 30 years declared would never be allowed to happen. 500 DF-41 intercontinental ballistic missiles transferred to Iran. Done. No warning, no ultimatum, no last-minute diplomatic intervention, just 500 of the most lethal weapons ever manufactured by human civilization quietly, methodically, and completely relocated from Chinese strategic storage into hardened Iranian launch facilities before a single Western intelligence analyst had confident enough reporting to trigger an interdiction response. Here is what 500 DF-41S.
Okay. I'm finna get ready to end it. I think one more of these.
So ever since I started talking about...
Yeah, let me go out. I need for y'all to hit the like button. Did we finish that?
The United States of America, the so-called leader of the free world, just got locked out of Europe's airspace. France said no, Italy said no, Spain said no, Switzerland said no.
This is the people who invented algebra, fighting the people that invented.
Hold on, I'm trying to see which one. What did you say?
Done. But at the end of the day, I just feel sorry for him and pray that God touch his heart and soul and free him from the demonic influences that he's under. I mean, it's just that simple. This is a nightmare. We know the Democrats, the left, are absolutely terrible, but when Trump's calling for wiping out whole civilizations and acting... It's done. But at the end of the day, I just feel sorry for him and pray that God touch his heart and soul and free him from the demonic influences that he's under. I mean, it's just that simple. This is a nightmare. We know the Democrats, the left, are absolutely terrible, but when Trump's calling for wiping out whole civilizations and acting like a supervillain, I have to come out and say I don't support it. It's that simple. So again, Trump's own wife came out at an unannounced press conference today and said the Epstein crimes are real and that she wants the victims to be in front of Congress to cover up the end. That's the opposite of what Trump's saying. Looks to me like she's breaking with Trump because she knows the ship's sinking, has found out the truth. Elon left 8 months ago saying he's in the files as cover up. I never saw any evidence of it, but he's acting like he's guilty. We know he's protecting Howard Lutnick, who said he didn't know Epstein didn't go to the island, and he did. So all I can say is this is a terrible day, and it's a nightmare for America and the world, but I'm going to tell the truth, report on the facts, no matter what it is. It's done. But at the end of the day, I just feel sorry for him and pray that God touch his heart and soul.
Holding its breath, and most people watching the news have no idea why they should be scared. A ceasefire between the United States, Israel, and Iran just dropped 2 weeks of pause, and every anchor is treating it like a victory lap. But here's the thing. Right now, the world is holding its breath, and most people watching the news have no idea why they should be scared. A ceasefire between the United States, Israel, and Iran just dropped 2 weeks of pause, and every anchor is treating it like a victory lap. But here's the thing. This ceasefire might not be an ending at all. It might be the quietest, most dangerous beginning we've seen in a generation. If you're learning something here, please hit subscribe. Many of you are aware of what's been happening with the channel. If you feel like supporting, a link in the description. I've spent months researching what's coming between 2026 and 2030, and I put it all into an ebook called The Next Global Shift: How to Stay Ahead of Economic Collapse and War, the economies, the conflicts, the moves you need to make. If you want my ebook link in the description to understand what's actually happening, you have to go back further than February of this year, because this moment didn't appear out of nowhere. The 2015 nuclear deal, the JCPOA, collapsed when Trump pulled the United States out in 2018.
I just grabbed this, and I'm so glad I got here when I did. This is from John and Mary's latest collection.
From that point forward, Iran and America circled each other the way two fighters do when they both know the bell is about to ring. Talks sputtered, tensions climbed, and then in June of 2025, the United States and Israel fought what people now call the 12-day war, sending American bombers into Iranian nuclear facilities before a ceasefire landed on June 24th, mediated by the United States and Qatar. The world exhaled that time too and told itself the crisis was over. What nobody expected was January 2026. Iranian security forces turned on their own citizens during the largest protest movement the country had seen since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, killing tens of thousands of people in the streets. Trump's response came fast. The largest American military buildup in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. By mid-February, the United States and Iran sat across a negotiating table again, indirect nuclear talks running through Oman, and the Omani foreign minister publicly said real progress was being made. Trump called it something he was not thrilled with. The talks dissolved. The decision, it turned out, had already been made somewhere else. February 28, 2026 arrived, and at 6:35 in the morning, UTC, U.S. Central Command, announced airstrikes against Iran. Nearly 900 of them compressed into 12 hours. The Americans named their operation Epic Fury, and the Israelis named theirs Roaring Lion. Together they threw B-2 stealth bombers, B-1 Lancers, B-52 Stratofortresses, Tomahawk missiles, and HIMARS launchers at a country that had been under sanctions for 45 years. 9 minutes after the American strikes began, at 6:45 UTC, Israeli jets launched what they described as decapitation strikes, and Ali Khamenei, 86 years old, supreme leader of Iran since 1989, died at his compound alongside his daughter, his son-in-law, his grandchild, and his daughter-in-law. 40 days of national mourning followed. Khamenei wasn't the only one. The Iranian defense minister died in those strikes. The IRGC commander, the defense council secretary, 4 top Ministry of Intelligence officials. The IDF confirmed the deaths of 7 senior Iranian security leaders before the morning was out. Somewhere in the south of Iran near Bandar Abbas, a girls' school took a hit that killed approximately 170 people. The American and Israeli explanation was that the school sat adjacent to a military base and that a misfired air defense missile caused the strike. Iran called it deliberate. By evening, the Iranian Red Crescent reported 201 dead and 747 wounded across 24 provinces, and Iran's retaliation was already in the air. Drones and ballistic missiles heading toward Israel, toward American bases in Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, with a drone connecting to Britain's Akrotiri base in Cyprus, and missiles getting shot down over Turkey. 3 American service members died that day, the first U.S. casualties of the conflict, and the war had fully, irreversibly begun. What most people sitting in America missed completely was the Strait of Hormuz, a waterway 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, through which flows roughly 20% of the entire world's oil supply every single day. Iran shut it down, and the numbers tell the story bluntly. On February 26th, 2 days before the war started, AAA recorded the national average for a gallon of regular gas at $2.98. By April 2026, that number had cleared $4 per gallon for the first time since August 2022, a nearly 39% spike in roughly 5 weeks, with crude oil surging past $100 a barrel. Japan's prime minister warned publicly that a closed strait would drain his country's oil supply within 8 to 9 months, collapsing the Japanese economy with it. India pulls 60% of its oil from that region, China 40%. None of this is a Middle Eastern problem in isolation. It lands in your gas tank, your grocery bill, your heating cost, whether you have ever looked at a map of the Persian Gulf or not. Replacing Khamenei turned out to be the part that should have worried everyone most. Iran's assembly of experts named Mojtaba Khamenei, 56 years old, the dead leader's son, as the new supreme leader, and Trump called him an unacceptable choice almost immediately. What analysts noted was the detail that mattered. Mojtaba ran close to the Revolutionary Guard and carried a reputation for being even more hostile toward the United States than his father. His opening declaration as supreme leader was to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. This was not a softer Iran emerging from the wreckage of its old leadership. This was a harder one. By early April, the toll of the conflict had accumulated into numbers that demand attention. Iran had fired more than 5,000 drones, over 2,000 ballistic missiles, and more than 50 cruise missiles, according to statistics from the Jewish Institute for National Security of America. Qatar, one of the world's top natural gas producers, announced it would take years to restore its output after Iranian strikes shredded its energy infrastructure.
Eat this one thing to clear brain fog. See, both look alike and are packed with vitamins.
Gulf Arab nations that had spent decades building reputations as safe, wealthy, stable hubs for global business watched that reputation dissolve in real time. Then came April 7th, 2026. Trump posted on Truth Social before his 8:00 p.m. Eastern deadline, and his words were verbatim: "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again." Congressional Democrats called it a potential war crime. Pope Leo XIV, the first American pope, stood in St. Peter's Square and called for peace, describing attacks on civilian infrastructure as a sign of the hatred, the division, the destruction. Less than 2 hours before that deadline expired, Pakistan brokered a ceasefire with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's government operating as the go-between for Washington and Tehran. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi publicly thanked Sharif. Behind the scenes, China delivered the final nudge that pushed Iran to accept. Trump's Truth Social post read, "This will be a double-sided ceasefire." The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. Iran's Supreme National Security Council confirmed the deal and claimed victory in the same breath, declaring that nearly all war objectives had been achieved. Markets responded within minutes. Brent crude dropped more than 13%, landing at 94.74, and the Dow Jones climbed 1,300 points, its best single session since April 2025. But here's the thing about that exhale. The ceasefire started cracking before the ink dried. Lebanon became the fault line almost immediately. Within hours of the announcement, Netanyahu's office confirmed that Israel's government supported Trump's decision to pause strikes on Iran for 2 weeks and then added one sentence that changed everything. The ceasefire did not include Lebanon. Israel launched Operation Eternal Darkness against Hezbollah that same day, its largest strike since the war began, leaving 254 people dead across Lebanon and 1,165 wounded, with 92 of those deaths concentrated in Beirut alone. By April 8th, at least 182 more people died in central Beirut from Israeli strikes that landed after the ceasefire was supposedly active. Iran responded by threatening to hit Israel if the assault on Lebanon did not stop. An Iranian media report stated that the Strait of Hormuz reopening, the actual foundation of the entire ceasefire agreement, had been paused because of those Lebanese strikes. Shehbaz Sharif, the man who built this deal, publicly condemned the violations and urged every party to exercise restraint and respect the ceasefire for 2 weeks as agreed upon so that diplomacy can take a lead role. And Iran's Supreme National Security Council put out a statement that deserves to be read slowly. Our hands are on the trigger, and the moment the enemy makes the slightest mistake, it will be met with full force. Underneath all of that sits a nuclear question, unresolved and immovable. All of Iran's highly enriched uranium remained inside the country, likely entombed at the enrichment sites American bombers struck during the 12-day war the previous June. Trump stated that the United States would work with Iran to dig up and remove that uranium, and Iran offered no confirmation of that plan. Trump and Netanyahu demanded complete dismantlement of the Iranian nuclear program. and Iran's 10-point peace proposal, the document Tehran submitted as its terms for the ceasefire, rejected that demand outright. What started this whole conflict, the thing every press conference cited as a justification for nearly 900 strikes in a single morning, remained completely unresolved. None of that mattered to the Pentagon's budget request, which came in at more than $200 billion in additional war funding, a number that signals the United States government is not planning for a short conflict. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard told the Senate that Iran's conventional military capabilities have largely been destroyed, and then added the part that most headlines buried: the regime appears intact. Here is what this war has cost the people who had the least say in it. Across Lebanon, more than 1,600 people have died and over 1 million have been displaced, more than 1/6 of the country's entire population uprooted. The IMF's chief warned that every 10% increase in energy prices over 2026 is expected to push global inflation up by nearly 0.5%. That means your costs climb whether the missiles land near you or not. 2 weeks. That is the window this ceasefire opened. 2 weeks for two sides that each declare total victory to sit down and negotiate something permanent, with a new Iranian supreme leader more hostile than the last, with Lebanon actively burning despite the agreement, with the Strait of Hormuz reopening hanging by a thread, and with a $200 billion Pentagon funding request quietly suggesting that someone in Washington has already planned for what comes next. Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged both sides to respect the ceasefire and expressed hope it would be extended. The world is watching, and the question was never really whether the ceasefire would hold. The question is what the world looks like when it does not. This is the video today. If you want my ebook, link in the description. See you later.
This is where I talk about what I liked in my first box. If I hadn't already been using them since the beginning of the year, could you...
Marjorie Taylor, welcome back. Marjorie Taylor Greene, welcome back to you.
marbles in the rear, marbles in...
Viral Iran diss track. So Jack Smith has filed a new lawsuit.
I mean, if Trump's not going to acknowledge that he's a criminal, they're going. Historical association. I mean, if Trump's not going to acknowledge it. Historical association, leave it to the historians to bring Mar-a-Lago back front and center in our national consciousness in a first filing. I mean, if Trump's not going to acknowledge that he's a criminal, they're going to paint him that way. I mean, if Trump's not going to acknowledge, and the historians shall lead us. Oh yes, the American Historical Association has just filed, in breaking news, a new lawsuit. I knew one would be coming to challenge Donald Trump's attempt to rip up, destroy and purloin top secret classified documents all over again. Oh yes, the president who was indicted for espionage and obstruction of justice for his failure to turn over the people's papers and keep top secret classified documents, including ones that had to do with war plans. That's the same president that had his Office of Legal Counsel put together a 50-page memo that declared a United States Supreme Court precedent from 1978 about Richard Nixon and documents to be wrong. Just wrong. It's just, there's no other way to put it. They just said that the Nixon decision by the Supreme Court, which declared that Congress has the power without violating the separation of powers to direct the presidency, to have a certain unit of the executive branch that has some longevity, some legacy, like the National Archive, to tell the president to deposit all of your millions of pages of documents with an executive branch office like the National Archive is not a violation of the separation of powers. It's executive to executive. Yet Trump's making the same argument all again. Congress can't tell me what to do. Article 1 Congress can't tell Article 2 presidency what to do. That's not what the United States Supreme Court said. You're only the temporary occupant of the Article 2 office. You're only the temporary occupant of the White House. I mean, he acts like he's going to be there forever, like knocking over the ballroom without permission or approval, but he's only temporary. May not be short enough for the rest of us, but he's temporary. And to have his Office of Legal Counsel and this deputy whoever write this thing that has to acknowledge the existence of the 1978 law, Nixon versus the General Services Administration, about his millions of documents and his hours and hours and hours of secretly recorded audio tapes, to just have him declare that it's just, the Supreme Court just wrong. Well, then go to court and have it declared wrong, not with an Office of Legal Counsel memo. And just to remind everybody, what Nixon was trying to hide is that he had a secret taping system. Oh yeah, that got disclosed during the Watergate investigation, where he was taping allies and enemies and staffers alike, and was just held them for extortive purposes or otherwise. And it got found out. Like, what do you mean there's a tape recorder in the White House? Like that. And then there was an erasure of certain aspects of the tape recording that made Nixon look bad, which all came out during the Watergate investigation. Oh, remember when we had a Department of Justice we could count on after Nixon? Well, the American Historical Association, which was incorporated by Congress in the late 1800s, was the first one, along with American Oversight, to file their lawsuit. It's in the D.C. federal court, and it claims that Trump he himself has violated separation of powers, the Presidential Records Act, because he's threatening to destroy everything if he hasn't already, the Administrative Procedures Act, and other law, and seeks an emergency injunction. What I love about the case is how they brought up Jack Smith and Mar-a-Lago. Of course, you have to acknowledge that we're talking about a president who in his first term in office stole things, sticky-fingered Trump, taking top secret classified military documents, war plans, maps, other things that were so bad as they repeat in their filing. This is on page 29, paragraphs 102 to 106 in the filing. I mean, if Trump's not going to acknowledge that he's a criminal, they're going to paint him that way. 102, upon leaving office, Trump kept significant numbers of official records rather than transferring them to the National Archives. The National Archives ultimately collected 15 boxes containing thousands of documents from President Trump's personal residence at Mar-a-Lago. The Federal Bureau of Investigation conducted a search identifying more documents and 100 more marked classified because he didn't turn them all over. President Trump later claimed, paragraph 104, that he was authorized to retain sole possession to the exclusion of the government. He maintained his documents were personal, and despite the fact that hundreds of them were marked classified about his clemency power, immigration policies, and intelligence matters. And here's the part I love, besides mentioning Jack Smith, at least alluding to him. A memorandum from federal prosecutors in 2023 reportedly stated that the FBI had found that certain classified documents President Trump had retained would be pertinent to certain business interests, which may have been a motive for retaining them. Yes, it may have been Pam Bondi's final shiv into the side of Donald Trump, because her Department of Justice produced to the House Judiciary Committee, where the ranking member is Jamie Raskin of the Democrats, a memo from Jack Smith's team in which they speculated that the reason Donald Trump kept it is he never thought he'd run for president again. He had a business motive to keep these documents and to use them for extortive purposes. In fact, I had Jamie Raskin, who wrote a demand letter to Pam Bondi a few days before she was canned, demanding information about it, who talked about that particular memo. Here's my interview with Representative Raskin. Play it. Representative Raskin, why don't we kick off with the letter you wrote on the 24th of March to Pam Bondi, the current Attorney General, about whether she did it on purpose or not. It looks like a mistake, where she sent over to the committees a memo which outlined all of the things, including a top secret document that only 6 human beings in the United States have classification or have the security clearance to review, that were retained by Donald Trump, and war map shown to Susie Wiles when she was the CEO of his political action committee. We knew about some of these things, but now we're trying to get to the bottom through you of them. Was there a profit motive to keep these documents? Tell our audience, brief our audience about what's happening with that letter and any response.
Well, the reason we think there's a profit motive, a business motive as they put it, was that Pam Bondi's DOJ sent to us information that included a progress report from one of Jack Smith's lawyers saying that there was a clear business motive, that's what they thought was behind his pilfering of all these documents, including the one that was so top secret only 6 people in the entire government could see it, one of them being the President of the United States. And then that, he's brandishing and waving around these documents on an airplane, obviously engaging in completely cavalier and promiscuous use of these documents that he kept, in the bathrooms and ballrooms and under the pool tables and ping pong tables at
all over the
Mar-a-Lago. In response, the White House has been dragging my name in the mud all weekend, saying Raskin has zero credibility, no credibility. All I did was release the document they sent us by accident, right? So I don't need much credibility to say, here's what the Department of Justice just sent us. Now,
let's talk about something no one wants to talk about. What happens when you die? Because unfortunately, it's going to happen to you, but you can be prepared. With Trump, should be accessible.
You are right. Laptops used to have ports. Now they sell you the ports separately, but this laptop stand brings them all back. Just plug in one cable and
to everyone, so they are committed to make trustandwill.com. It's accepted that he was required under the Public Records Act to turn over custody and control of his documents to the National Archives. So we're doing it all over again. That's the fear of this association of historians who are normally running around with dusty manuscripts, but now they've got to run into court led by groups like American Oversight. Office of Legal Counsel memo, which gives Donald Trump permission to destroy everything. That's why they got to run to court so quickly. Now, this is a fast-moving story. We'll cover it here. We'll cover it on Legal AF YouTube. Take a minute and hit the free subscribe button on Legal AF YouTube channel as well. And I'll be doing kind of real-time updates on Legal AF Substack, where I do 2 lives a day as well. But this is an important story. When I read the 50 pages of the Office of Legal Counsel memo a couple of days ago, I was like, oh, here we go. Leave it to Donald Trump, Sticky Fingers Trump, to have his office write up a get-out-of-jail-free card, a permission slip, for him to destroy the people's papers. He did it all over again. But I shout out to the American Historical Association for running so quickly into court with American Oversight. I'm going to reach out to both of those groups and see if I can get them on Legal AF to brief our audience further on the lawsuit. In the meantime, I'm Michael Popak. Until my next report.
Okay, y'all. Good night.
Become a subscriber to our site.
time to go to sleep. I'm sleepy. Good night. See y'all later. Hit the like button, please, especially if you didn't hit it coming in. Please hit it on your way out. I would greatly appreciate it. Mwah. Good night.